Chapter 1506. The abyssal demon dragon's body was too huge, and its movements were simply earth-shaking. Huge rocks rolled down. A bright light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes as well, showing a strong interest in this. Back in the netherworld, other than demon venerable Netherlin Poyang who could arouse his interest, no one else was a match for him. Now, the guy in the fire canyon was really strong, which aroused his interest. With Yi Chen's cultivation, he could naturally see that the abyssal demon dragon's cultivation was stuck between the peak of Daluo Jinxian and the sage-to-be. It should have been stuck at this point for many years. Yi Chen's mouth revealed a trace of a sneer. If this guy could break through to the sage-to-be, it might cause him some trouble. However, as long as he was still Daluo Jinxian, it was not a problem at all. At that moment, Yi Chen laughed and waved his sleeves at the nearby 9th-grade purple Ganoderma, collecting them all into the small world. His speed was extremely fast, just like a butterfly flying up and down, which was dazzling. The abyssal demon dragon's body was extremely huge, but it still could not catch a corner of Yi Chen's clothes. When Yi Chen plundered all the 9th-grade purple Ganoderma near the abyssal demon dragon, he finally fixed his eyes on the abyssal demon dragon. Yi Chen did not talk nonsense and quickly retreated. In the blink of an eye, he was below the abyssal demon dragon. The god slayer in his hand, with a shrill whistling sound, was smashed at the abyssal demon dragon's chin. The speed was so fast that the god slayer was bent into an exaggerated arc, like a strong bow that was pulled into a full moon. God knew how terrifying Yi Chen's power was now. The God Slayer was bent into such an arc, and only a loud bang was heard. As if the sky and earth were falling, the abyssal demon dragon let out a heart-wrenching scream. When it opened its mouth, it spat out 2 white fangs that were dozens of feet long. It was also mixed with some dragon blood with black flames. The abyssal demon dragon's huge body was also knocked over by Yi Chen's spear, and rolled twice on the ground. Dozens of stone pillars, each with a diameter of several thousand feet, collapsed just like that. A cloud of dust rose into the air. The abyssal demon dragon was infuriated. He quickly got up and his huge dragon eyes flashed with a sinister light. He glared at Yi Chen, gritted his teeth and roared, "Damned ant, you hurt me. I'm going to burn you to ashes." Boom. The abyssal demon dragon suddenly opened its bloody mouth, and a mouthful of black and golden flames engulfed the entire canyon with a boom. The temperature of this flame was very high. Even if a spiritual weapon was placed here, it would be burned into scrap in an instant. Even the fiery crystals on both sides of the canyon, which had been tempered for thousands of years, showed signs of melting. The abyssal demon dragon's ferocious and tyrannical eyes flashed with a hint of pleasure. So in his opinion, although the little guy had incredible strength, it was impossible for him to survive under such high temperature. After all, to him, this black and golden flame was not much different from the legendary true Samadhi fire. The abyssal demon dragon even thought that its unique flame power was more powerful than the true Samadhi fire. But at this moment, a voice that made the abyssal demon dragon's hair stand on end came from the flames. "You should feel lucky. I originally planned to get rid of you after getting these rank 9 purple Ganoderma, but I didn't expect you to have such a unique skill. Then, I've decided to give you a chance to surrender to me, and you can be spared from death." What? The abyssal demon dragon's pupils suddenly shrank, all the hair on his body stood on end, and a feeling of extreme fear rose in his heart. He stared at the burning battlefield in disbelief. He only saw a tall figure walking out from the flames step by step. Wasn't that the kid who gave him a heavy blow just now? At this moment, Yi Chen's body was surrounded by a layer of golden light, which blocked all the flames outside. Yi Chen was sizing up the abyssal demon dragon with interest, and his gaze made the abyssal demon dragon feel a chill in his heart. What kind of gaze was that? It was as if he was looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It was simply outrageous. This made the abyssal demon dragon feel extremely embarrassed and angry. In his opinion, He was the only powerhouse in the underworld demonic realm, although there was demon venerable Yu Ming. However, the abyssal demon dragon felt that his position was higher than demon venerable Yu Ming. After all, the underworld demonic realm was just a branch of the demonic realm. The demonic realm was vast and boundless, and there were countless branches and small worlds in the demonic realm. Each branch and small world formed a territory. The underworld was also a small branch of the demonic realm. In other words, there were countless existences like demon venerable Yu Ming in the demonic realm. However, the abyssal demon dragon was unique. This was because his master was the lord of the demonic realm, the Nether River Patriarch. At the thought of the Nether River Patriarch, an inexplicable courage rose in the abyssal demon dragon's heart, and he gradually raised his huge head. A stream of air also surged under Yi Chen's feet, which gradually lifted him up until he was level with the abyssal demon dragon's head. The abyssal demon dragon's immense mental power spread out. In just an instant, he learned about the series of events that happened in the underworld demonic realm from the minds of the wandering and fleeing survivors. A trace of savagery flashed in his fragmentary golden eyes, and he sneered and said, "Intruder, I didn't expect you to kill demon venerable Yu Ming. You're in big trouble, do you understand? My master will never let you go, you're dead meat." Yi Chen tilted his head and asked with interest, "Who's your master?" The abyssal demon dragon smiled arrogantly, and then gritted his teeth and said, "I'm afraid you'll be scared out of your wits if I tell you. Listen carefully, my master is the famous lord of the demonic realm, the Nether River Patriarch. What do you think? Are you scared? You make it sound so impressive, but it turns out you're just someone's pet. A beast will always be a beast." Yi Chen immediately sneered and then frowned. He didn't expect the underworld to belong to the demonic realm and be under the jurisdiction of the Nether River Patriarch. If he wasn't wrong, the Nether River Patriarch was now a demi-saint. Although Yi Chen wasn't afraid, he didn't want to make such a powerful enemy for himself. After all, the Azura clan that was created by the Nether River Patriarch was not to be underestimated. Chapter 1507. Soon, Yi Chen had his own idea. He looked at the abyssal demon dragon coldly and said, "Idiot, you've provoked me. Do you think the Nether River Patriarch can save your life? Today, no matter who your master is, you'll have to kneel down." After saying that, Yi Chen quickly made his move. Suddenly, a huge golden palm with a radius of tens of thousands of feet appeared in the sky. The golden palm seemed to have come from ancient times. It directly crossed time and space and appeared out of thin air. This huge golden palm seemed to have solidified. It was a terrifying palm made of pure gold. With a rumble, a terrifying force of tens of millions of pounds hit the abyssal demon dragon's body hard. The abyssal demon dragon raised his neck and let out another shrill scream. Yi Chen's slap almost broke all the bones in the abyssal demon dragon's body. Yi Chen's attack was actually modified from the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger that Lin Poyang had used previously. Yi Chen had modified the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger that he knew, and now it had become his own unique skill. In terms of power, it was more simple. It was more than 60% more powerful than the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. The abyssal demon dragon looked up at Yi Chen in disbelief and said angrily, "How can you do this to me? Aren't you afraid of the Nether River Patriarch's anger?" Yi Chen looked at the abyssal demon dragon coldly, as if he was looking at a fool. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Chen's cultivation was still passable, and that scorching hot flame, Yi Chen would have killed him long ago. This abyssal demon dragon didn't seem to have a higher IQ than Heisha, let alone the cunning lava dragon king. Yi Chen felt that he was talking too much, and suddenly slapped him again. The golden palm that blotted out the sky and covered the earth sent the abyssal demon dragon flying. There was a loud rumble. The cliff in the distance suddenly collapsed, and countless boulders fell down, piling up into a small mountain, and buried the abyssal demon dragon under it. The commotion here was earth-shattering. The 18 iron Arhats had obviously heard the commotion here, and were rushing over as fast as lightning. In an instant, 18 valiant figures appeared in front of Yi Chen out of thin air. Led by Lava Dragon King and Black Shark, the 18 iron Arhats knelt down to Yi Chen in the air and said respectfully, "Your Majesty, we are here to report." Yi Chen glanced at them, clapped his hands and said, "Since you are all here, there is no need for me to do anything. Drag that guy out and beat him to death. Just leave him with one last breath." Following Yi Chen's guidance, 18 pairs of eyes flashed with ominous glints as they stared at the mound of dirt that was piled up by rocks. Black Shark and Lava Dragon King's mouths flashed with ferocity. Black Shark waved his hand, and the 18 iron Arhats rushed over like wolves and tigers. The Abyssal Demon Dragon finally recovered some strength. He lifted the huge rocks that were pressing on him and climbed out again. Just as he roared in a low voice and was about to find the person who buried him alive to settle the score. But he heard a fierce sound of something breaking through the air. He hurriedly looked up and saw 18 guys with fierce auras pouncing on him with sneers on their faces. While they were still in the air, these guys had already transformed. They turned into terrifying beasts that were more than 10,000 feet in size. Seeing this, the Abyssal Demon Dragon immediately roared in exasperation, "Traitors, you damned traitors! Don't forget, you are all elites of the Nether Demon realm. How dare you betray the Ancestor? Aren't you afraid that the Ancestor will skin you alive?" Lava Dragon King's eyes were cold. "Compared to my master, your Ancestor is nothing. Cut the crap. My master asked us to beat you to death. You'd better pray for yourself." The Abyssal Demon Dragon was extremely depressed. Previously, Yi Chen's attack on him had already caused great damage to him. Now he was seriously injured, and there was also Ing Zheng, these 18 Fire Dragon Kings who were full of vigor. It was simply unfair. Unfortunately, Yi Chen didn't talk about fairness with him at all. With Lava Dragon King and Black Shark as the leader, the 18 iron Arhats launched a storm in the air like the Abyssal Demon Dragon. The wind whistled and the air exploded. The Flame Canyon was filled with the angry and desperate roars of the Abyssal Demon Dragon and the sound of his fists hitting flesh. 2 fists couldn't beat 4 hands. Even a fierce tiger was afraid of a pack of wolves. Moreover, the cultivation of each of these 18 iron Arhats was at the peak of Daluo Jinxian. In a one-on-one fight, they might not be a match for the Abyssal Demon Dragon. However, when the 18 of them joined forces, the Abyssal Demon Dragon couldn't resist. This group fight lasted for about half an hour. Since Yi Chen said to beat the Abyssal Demon Dragon to death and only leave him with one breath, then naturally, they would carry it out to the letter. At this time, the Abyssal Demon Dragon's bones were all broken, and the scales on his body were falling off. The Abyssal Demon Dragon was really miserable. Even the dragon horns on his head were smashed off, and his sharp dragon teeth were all smashed off. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Lava Dragon King and Black Shark stepped on the Abyssal Demon Dragon's big head, one on the left and one on the right. Then, he said to Yi Chen, "Your Majesty, now, this old thing only has one breath left. What should we do next?" The Abyssal Demon Dragon was really weak now. He couldn't say anything. He just lay there dispiritedly, resigned to his fate. He didn't even have the strength to lift his eyelids. The Abyssal Demon Dragon could feel the blood flowing out of his body, and all the energy in his body was also flowing out. Perhaps if this continued, he wouldn't be far from death. Yi Chen walked up with a cold face and floated above the Abyssal Demon Dragon. Without saying anything, he directly opened his contract book. In the next moment, the Abyssal Demon Dragon and Yi Chen signed a contract. Due to the Abyssal Demon Dragon's unique identity, he received different treatment. Lava Dragon King, Black Shark, and the others signed a master-servant contract, and the Abyssal Demon Dragon directly signed a slave contract. In other words, from now on, his life and death were completely out of his control. not to mention resisting Yi Chen. Even if he had a rebellious thought in his heart, the power of the slave contract would make him suffer a fate worse than death. After the contract was signed, Yi Chen smiled slightly. With a wave of his hand, he put the abyssal demon dragon into his space. Yi Chen soared into the sky. Behind him, the 18 iron arhats followed closely. Yi Chen swept across the sky as fast as lightning. He looked at the ground under his feet, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Although the Netherworld was also under the jurisdiction of the Nether River Patriarch, it had become his territory. If the Nether River Patriarch wanted to return, he would have to pay a huge price. Chapter 1508. Yi Chen had achieved his goal of coming to the Netherland perfectly. He did not waste any more time and soared into the sky to open the space-time tunnel. He left the Netherland and returned to the sacred city of Samsara. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Yi Chen reappeared in the throne room of Samsara City. The civil and military officials on both sides knelt down to greet him, their eyes filled with excitement. Yi Chen was back. They seemed to have found their backbone again. When Yi Chen was not around, they always felt inexplicably flustered. Yi Chen waved his hand and said majestically, "Did anything major happen in the untainted land while I was away?" The ministers looked at each other. One of them stood out and said, "Your Majesty, the untainted land has been peaceful recently. However, although nothing major has happened, there are still surging waves in the dark." Yi Chen was a little interested. He looked at the minister and asked, "Did you find anything?" "Yes, Your Majesty. On the surface, it seems that the two giants of the demon race and the witch race are restraining and tolerating each other. There has not been any large-scale conflict. However, we received a report that a stronghold of the witch race in the northern forest was suddenly attacked by an unknown team and was completely wiped out. Not long after, an average-sized tribe of the demon race was inexplicably slaughtered. Even the newborn demon race children were not spared. It was too bloody. However, the management of both the demon race and the witch race said that this could be done by demons from the devil realm. They are closely investigating the culprit." Hearing this, Yi Chen vaguely understood what was going on. He sneered. At this moment, the devil realm was the best scapegoat. At this moment, another minister stepped forward. He hesitated and said, "Your Majesty, there is one more thing. It was sent back by the spy we planted in the demon race. It said that the Eastern Emperor Tai of the ancient heavenly court has been going to the moon star frequently recently. What is he up to?" "Going to the moon star frequently?" Hearing this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. He had been in the primordial world for too long and had yet to head to the lunar star. He hadn't forgotten that Chang Shi and he had been waiting for him on the lunar star. This Dong Wang Tai did not stay in the ancient heavenly court, but instead, he frequently went to the lunar star. There was no need to ask what he was thinking. Yi Chen sneered in his heart, and a terrifying killing intent bloomed from the corner of his mouth. "Dong Wang Tai, I didn't want to touch you too early, but if you want to die, then I will fulfill your wish." Yi Chen remained calm and collected on the surface. After dealing with some of the difficult matters that had accumulated over a long period of time, he withdrew from court. It had been 3 days since he returned, and he had appeased the women in his harem. Yi Chen raised his head and looked at the lunar star in the distance. He did not alert the others. Instead, he directly led the 18 iron arhats into the sky. Yi Chen's heart was filled with anticipation when he thought of Chang Shi and Shiha's tenderness. Yi Chen crossed the void, and under his feet was the abyssal demon dragon that had completely recovered. The abyssal demon dragon had signed a slave contract and had no room to resist. He could only obediently be Yi Chen's mount. Yi Chen had promised him that as long as he was obedient, he would give him freedom after 1,000 years. The abyssal demon dragon had no choice. Moreover, in his long life, 1,000 years was just a snap of his fingers. The abyssal demon dragon had completely immersed himself in his role. His speed was as fast as lightning as he crossed the void. Behind Yi Chen, the 18 iron arhats had all transformed into a 30 feet tall man with a curly beard. Their bodies were muscular and full of explosive power. Each of them exuded a violent and ferocious aura. At first glance, they did not look like kind people. Originally, Yi Chen wanted them to compress a little more. About 10 feet was the most suitable. However, because their cultivation and bodies were too large, compressing them to about 30 feet was already the limit. Yi Chen did not force them. The 18 iron arhats, including He Sha, were very excited at this time. They followed Yi Chen to the eldritch world that they had always dreamed of invading. Sure enough, they found that the environment in the eldritch world was many times better than the netherworld. Under the endless infusion of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, the cultivation of the 18 iron arhats had also improved by leaps and bounds. They were beginning to break through the barrier. What was more worth mentioning was that as soon as they returned to the eldritch world, the 18 iron arhats had changed their weapons. Their equipment had been replaced with the most basic divine equipment sets, and the weapons in their hands had been replaced. The lowest level weapon was an innate spirit treasure. This was not enough to be described as luxurious. As for the old man among the 18 iron arhats, the lava dragon king curled his lips in disdain. He cursed in his heart, "What a bunch of country bumpkins who have never seen the world." After changing their equipment, the fighting strength of the 18 iron arhats increased exponentially. After this, they were even more loyal to Yi Chen. Yi Chen did not tell them the purpose of this trip at all, nor did he tell them what they were going to do. This was not within the 18 iron arhats' consideration. In any case, wherever Yi Chen told them to go, they would go, and whoever he told them to fight, they would fight. It was right to always listen to their master. When Yi Chen was less than 200 miles away from the lunar star, Yi Chen's fiery eyes of gold keenly discovered an extremely luxurious and magnificent carriage parked outside the lunar star. This carriage was magnificent. It was cast in gold and carved with all kinds of complicated and intricate patterns. The top of the carriage was even inlaid with countless colorful gems. This carriage did not have wheels. Instead, it was suspended in the void by a suspension array engraved on the top of the carriage. Pulling the carriage at the front were 12 shiny and unbelievably beautiful white celestial horses. These celestial horses were incomparably handsome, and each of them had a tall golden horn on their forehead. Lightning flickered above the horns. At this moment, a handsome and elegant man was standing in front of the carriage. Yi Chen could tell at a glance that this coquettish man with a folding fan in his hand was one of the rulers of the ancient heavenly court, Dong Huang Tai. Behind Dong Huang Tai were the 10 loyal Fey immortals. Further back, on the left and right sides, stood 200 maids who had undergone strict training. Their figures were graceful, and their faces were pretty. Chapter 1509. At this time, Dong Huang Tai was standing outside the protective formation of the moon star. He fanned himself and said affectionately, "There are trees on the mountain, and there are branches on the tree. My heart pleases you, but you don't know. Ladies, ever since I saw you last time, my heart has bloomed like 100 flowers. Today is my 8th time here. Ladies, can you open the protective formation and let me in?" However, Dong Huang Tai's voice was like a clay ox entering the sea. The moon star didn't give him any reply at all. Dong Huang Tai's eyes flashed with a trace of haze, but his face still looked affectionate. Since the last time he was in the ancient heavenly court, with the help of the secret treasure, he accidentally saw the scene of Chang Shi and Shi He playing with the 2 beauties in the moon star. Dong Huang Tai even secretly swore that he would only marry these 2 beauties. The next day, Dong Huang Tai went straight to the moon star to propose. In his opinion, given his status in the ancient heavenly court, ordinary cultivators would flock to him like a flock of ducks. As long as he expressed a wisp of his thoughts, Wouldn't these two inexperienced women immediately be taken down by him? Who knew that after Dong Wangtai came, he was refused entry? No matter how affectionate he was, the protective formation outside the moon star was still tightly shut. They didn't even come out to see him. The first time Dong Wangtai came, he seemed to hear a very pleasant voice coming from inside. "We already have a husband. Your Excellency, please go back. Don't disturb us." Although Dong Wangtai heard it, he didn't care at all. So what if she had a husband? He could just snatch her. No matter what kind of person her husband was, how could he be compared to the ancient heavenly court's celestial emperor? What a joke. At first, Dong Wangtai thought that the two women were playing hard to get. Who would have thought that after being rejected several times in a row, he would dejectedly discover that the other party didn't buy it at all. As usual, the moon star still didn't give any reply. At this time, one of the 10 demon gods behind Dong Wangtai couldn't take it anymore. He stepped forward and growled in a low voice, "Hey, you two women, I advise you to be sensible. It's your honor that our celestial emperor likes you. Why must the two of you be so distant?" At this time, a clear and impatient voice came from the lunar star. "What's wrong with you people? Could it be that he couldn't understand human language? We've already told you that we sisters have husbands. Why are you still entangled with us? I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, when our husbands come, you won't be able to bear the consequences." When the 10 beast gods heard this, they immediately burst into laughter. "What a joke! What kind of person is your husband? How could he make us suffer? I really can't believe that there is someone in this world who can be compared to our celestial emperor. That's right. Our Majesty is a man of great talent and vision. He established the ancient heavenly court, and all the races in the world are under the jurisdiction of the ancient heavenly court. You two women better not be ungrateful. Otherwise we will use brute force. When we break the moon star, it will be too late for you two to regret." Dong Wangtai didn't stop his subordinates from speaking ill of him. His patience was almost exhausted. With his status, he could get any woman he wanted. He didn't expect to be rejected here. It was good to let his subordinates scare them. Maybe they would be afraid and submit. At this time, a thunderous voice came from the void in the distance. "How promising! The great Dong Wangtai of the ancient heavenly court is leading a group of lackeys here to bully two women. Do you have any shame?" As he spoke, a violent aura came toward them. Dong Wangtai and the 10 beast gods' faces changed. They couldn't remember how long it had been since someone dared to speak to them like this. But at this time, as a crazy and terrifying gust of wind swept over, Dong Wangtai and the 10 beast gods immediately leaped up. In an instant they moved tens of thousands of feet away. Boom! Although they dodged, the extremely beautiful carriage wasn't spared. It was smashed apart by a terrifying force, turning into fragments that filled the sky. The 22 extremely beautiful Pegasus were about to fly into the sky, but they were swallowed by a bloody mouth that suddenly appeared in the void. After the abyssal demon dragon swallowed the 12 purebred Pegasus with noble bloodlines, it burped in satisfaction. The beast race of the eldritch world was so much more delicious. As for the 200 maids, they were already sent flying by the terrifying aura. They fell with bruises all over their faces, crying for their parents as they fled in all directions. Dong Wangtai's face turned extremely gloomy. 2 rays of cold light flashed across his eyes as he stared at them. Yi Chen stood on the abyssal demon dragon's giant head with his arms crossed. His clothes fluttered in the wind. Under his feet, the abyssal demon dragon kept sizing up Dong Wangtai and the 10 demon gods behind him with its malicious eyes, as if it was contemplating when it would swallow them up. Behind Yi Chen, the 18 iron arhats were also rubbing their fists and glaring at each other with ferocious faces. They were ready to fight at any time. Dong Wangtai's eyesight was amazing. At a glance, he could tell that the 18 iron arhats, including Yi Chen's abyssal demon dragon, were all super experts at the peak of Daluo Jinxian. When he glanced at Yi Chen, he frowned. Why did this guy look so familiar? At this moment, one of the beast gods came up and whispered to Dong Wangtai, Heaven Emperor, this guy is Yi Chen from the Samsara dynasty. Dong Wangtai suddenly understood. 2 rays of dangerous light flashed across his eyes. He stared at Yi Chen with a fake smile and said, So you are Yi Chen. Let me ask you, did you kill my general, Feng Wu? Yi Chen sneered and admitted frankly, Yes, I didn't expect that arrogant idiot to be your subordinate. Like subordinate, like master. How dare you be so rude to our Heaven Emperor? You are courting death. Kneel down and kowtow to beg for mercy. The 10 beast gods couldn't stand it anymore. They suddenly jumped out and pointed at Yi Chen, reprimanding him loudly. Yi Chen, who had always been gentle and elegant, suddenly burst into laughter. A trace of madness bloomed at the corners of his mouth. His neat white teeth also emitted a white cold light. Chapter 15:10. Who do you think you are? So what if I'm being unreasonable? Come and bite me if you have the guts. 1-on-1 or a group fight. You can choose. With that, Yi Chen took a step forward, and a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body. His black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were as dazzling as the sun, emitting 2 shocking rays of light. Energy surged around Yi Chen's body, making him look like a war god from ancient times. Behind him, the 18 iron arhats had already bent their bodies slightly, and their ferocious faces were already filled with cold, killing intent. Traces of crazy killing intent began to vibrate outside the lunar star. Dong Wangtai was also shocked. He did not expect the other party to have such a shocking killing intent. Moreover, the killing intent of Yi Chen and the 18 iron arhats behind him seemed to have merged into one, as if it was real. A strong smell of blood rushed towards him. This shocked Dong Wangtai and the 10 demon gods behind him. How many people did he have to kill to condense such a terrifying killing intent? Even the 10 demon gods' legs were trembling. Although they also had the cultivation of Daluo Jinxian, there were only 10 of them, and the other party had 18 of them. If they fought, they would definitely not be a match. However, Dong Wangtai stood steadily in the void. He was still quite confident in himself. So what if the other party's strength was terrifying? He had one of the 10 divine artifacts, the Bell of Chaos. The Bell of Chaos had the best defense in the world. Until now, there was nothing that could break its defense. Just as the aura of the 2 sides was at its peak, and at the critical moment, a pleasantly surprised voice came from the lunar star. Husband, why are you here? Then, the protective array outside the lunar star suddenly opened. 2 graceful figures rushed into Yi Chen's arms like swallows returning to the forest, hugging him tightly. Then, 2 beautiful faces, one angry and one happy, appeared in front of Yi Chen. It was Chang Shi and Shi He. Chang Shi said with some dissatisfaction, Husband, why did you come to visit us so late? We miss you so much. Shiha also felt a little wronged. She tugged at Yi Chen's sleeve and pointed at Dong Wangtai, saying, Yes, husband, that guy is so annoying. He kept coming here to harass us. He even threatened us that if we didn't open the protective formation, he would come in and bully us. Yi Chen gently caressed their hair and gently kissed their foreheads before saying, Your husband came late. This kind of thing will not happen again. You 2 step back and let your husband vent this anger for you. Shiha clapped her hands happily and said, Okay, I can watch my husband beat up bad guys again. On the other hand, Dong Wangtai's face had been dark ever since Chang Shi and Shi He appeared. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He had come here again and used all his means, but these 2 women did not even come out to meet him. On the other hand, when this damned Yi Chen appeared, these 2 women took the initiative to throw themselves into his arms. They were simply shameless to the extreme. When he heard Yi Chen's words, he sneered disdainfully. Then, he took a step forward, raised his chin proudly, and said, I heard that you want to teach me a lesson. Show me what you've got. Then, Dong Wang Tai looked at Chang Shi and Shi He and said, Today, I will let you see with your own eyes how I make your man fall from the sky into the abyss. I will show you who the real hero is. Chang Shi and Shi He turned their heads at the same time and spat in disgust. Shameless man, you don't know your place. Compared to our husband, you are just a little bug on the side of the road. That's right. If our husband is the bright moon in the sky, you are the most inconspicuous firefly. How can you compare to our husband? You are so shameless. Dong Wang Tai was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Yi Chen turned around and gave Chang Shi and Shi He a thumbs up. Well done. Dong Wang Tai's face was ferocious. The power in his body surged, and his body gradually expanded. Yi Chen, today I will tear you into pieces. I will make sure that you will never be reincarnated. You talk too much. Yi Chen snorted coldly and his body suddenly leaped forward. His speed broke through the sound barrier, as if he was passing through the void. In the next moment, he appeared directly beside Dong Wang Tai. The God-Slayer in his hand whistled crazily toward Dong Wang Tai again. Seeing Yi Chen use the same move again, even the abyssal demon dragon felt a little uncomfortable. He had personally experienced how painful it was to be hit by Yi Chen's spear. Dong Wang Tai was shocked when he heard the whistling sound. He didn't expect Yi Chen to be so fast. It was so fast that it was beyond his imagination. In his panic, Dong Wang Tai couldn't react in time. The bell of chaos in his body automatically protected its master after sensing his danger. Suddenly, a bell of chaos formed by golden light appeared on the surface of Dong Wang Tai's body. Boom! A loud noise resounded through the world. Yi Chen's spear landed heavily on the bell of primal chaos without any fancy moves. The bell of chaos was indeed the most powerful defensive divine weapon in the world. Under Yi Chen's all-out attack, Dong Wang Tai, who was protected by it, only felt a little vibration. After the shock, Dong Wang Tai found that he was unharmed. He immediately laughed wildly. Yi Chen, is that all you have? If you have the ability, continue to attack. If you have the ability, break my defense first. A cold light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. His palm was slightly numb. The bell of chaos was indeed powerful. After seeing Dong Wang Tai's arrogance, Yi Chen sneered in his heart. Did he think that he couldn't do anything to him just because he was hiding in a turtle feeding box? How childish. Then, Yi Chen's spear shot out like a dragon. The God-Slayer in his hand hit the bell of chaos heavily again. Boom! Another earth-shattering sound. The bell of chaos vibrated violently, and an invisible shock wave spread in all directions. The small meteors flying in the air were hit by the shock wave and were immediately torn apart, turning into gravel that filled the sky. Although only a small portion of the bell of chaos's vibrating power was left, it was still very uncomfortable. Dong Wang Tai felt dizzy, but he still gritted his teeth and mocked. You know it's useless, but you still attack. Are you an idiot? Yi Chen didn't reply. Suddenly, a light flashed in his hand and the God-Slayer disappeared. What appeared in his hand was the Rui Jingu Bang that he hadn't seen for a long time. Yi Chen revealed a sinister smile. The Rui Jingu Bang in his hand expanded in the wind. With the power of thunder, it smashed down crazily. Chapter 15:11. Following Yi Chen's movements, his body also rapidly expanded into a giant that could support both heaven and earth. Behind Yi Chen, thousands of miles of auspicious clouds appeared, shrouding the starry sky. Within the clouds, there were countless illusions floating up and down. The Rui Jingu Bang rubbed against the void, emitting a pungent burnt smell. Even the void started to tremble, as though it would be torn apart at any moment. Dong Wang Tai, who had been relying on the bell of chaos, saw Yi Chen's aura and his eyes narrowed. He didn't dare to underestimate Yi Chen any longer. He quickly made various complicated hand seals, pushing the bell of chaos to its maximum power. With a loud hum, the bell of chaos also expanded. In an instant, a huge golden bell with a radius of thousands of feet enveloped Dong Huang Tai. The bell of chaos emitted a simple sound, as though it was the most primitive sound at the beginning of the world. And the resplendent golden light outside the bell of chaos constantly changed into different environments. The 4 seasons changed, the sun rose and the moon set. There were even thousands of tribes in the wilderness constantly changing. Seeing such an intense scene, the 10 demon immortals that Dong Huang Tai had brought couldn't help but whisper. Who would have thought that this human kid could use such power? Unbelievable. Do you think our heavenly emperor can beat him? What a joke. How can this brat compare to our sky emperor? Don't forget, our sky emperor is a sage to be. With the help of the bell of chaos, which has the strongest defense in the world, he can attack and defend freely. He is already in an invincible position. That's true. This kid really doesn't know his place. How dare he challenge our heavenly emperor? Let's see how pathetic he'll be in a while. In the distance, Chang Shi and Shiha were extremely worried. Chang Shi tugged at Shiha's sleeves uneasily. This Dong Huang Tai is too despicable. Can our husband win? Although Shiha wasn't sure either, she still comforted Chang Shi. Don't worry, our husband is invincible. He's just a clown. Our husband will definitely teach him a lesson. Boom! Just as everyone was guessing, Yi Chen's Rui Jingu Bang smashed into Dong Huang Tai's bell of chaos. A loud sound like a thunderclap shook the surroundings. The moment the Jingu Bang came into contact with the bell of chaos, a terrifying energy spread out in all directions. The surrounding void vibrated violently. This terrifying shockwave spread out for hundreds of thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye. Even in the distant void, a meteor that passed by here turned into dust and disappeared after being affected by this energy. The shocking battle between Yi Chen and Dong Huang Tai also attracted the attention of many mighty figures. Old Lord Taishang was cultivating in seclusion when he suddenly felt his palace tremble slightly. Taishang Laojun raised a pair of long eyebrows and pinched his fingers to calculate. Immediately, he frowned. He turned his head and looked across thousands of kilometers. Immediately, he saw the scene outside the lunar star where the battle was taking place. Taishang Laojun saw Yi Chen swinging the Rui Jingu Bang like an ancient god of war and attacking Dong Huang Tai relentlessly. He muttered to himself, "This human kid looks familiar. Oh right, isn't he the reincarnation dynasty's monarch Yi Chen? Why is he fighting with Dong Huang Tai?" At this time, the primeval Lord of Heaven's consciousness also appeared above the battlefield. The primeval Lord of Heaven was more familiar with Yi Chen. Therefore, he was also the most shocked. Yi Chen's growth was too fast. Because his opponent this time was no ordinary person. It was Dong Huang Tai of the ancient heavenly court. The primeval Lord of Heaven stroked his beard slightly, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Thinking back to his unintentional actions, he had left a good relationship with Yi Chen. It seemed like his investment back then was worth it. The other powerful beings' consciousness also shrouded the heavens. After seeing the scene, they whispered to each other secretly. Who is this guy? He looks so violent. He actually fought Dong Huang Tai to this extent. I'm not sure. I've just arrived. Seems like there are many heroes in the Eldritch continent. I have to take some time to pay attention to these mutants who suddenly appeared. Dong Huang Tai was unharmed with the protection of the Bell of Chaos. However, the terrifying vibrations caused him to feel extremely uncomfortable. Dong Huang Tai had sensed that there were countless consciousness spying on him from the surrounding void. Dong Huang Tai's face turned red. He was the heavenly emperor of the ancient heavenly court. When had he ever suffered such a loss? If he did not take down Yi Chen today, he would lose face. Dong Huang Tai was fearless with the protection of the Bell of Chaos. He soared into the sky and pointed his index fingers forward. Gotcha! Suddenly, a purple thunderbolt as thick as a bucket appeared out of nowhere. It struck towards Yi Chen directly. This purple thunderbolt was filled with incredible power. Its speed was several times faster than a meteor. In the blink of an eye, it was above Yi Chen. Yi Chen's lips curled into a cold smile. He raised his head, and two beams of golden light shot out from his eyes. They met the purple thunderbolt in the air. After a loud crack, the purple thunderbolt disappeared without a trace. Dong Wangtai's face was ashen. A powerful weapon appeared in his hand. Just like that, Shao Chen controlled it to hack at Yi Chen again. Yi Chen waved the Rui Jingu Bang and sent Dong Wangtai's weapon flying. Immediately after, Yi Chen's laughter filled the sky. Dong Wangtai, how many days have you not eaten? Your attack is weak and powerless. You can't even compare to a woman. Who gave a piece of trash like you the guts to harass my woman? Just as Yi Chen finished speaking, there was a wave of realization in the surrounding void. The Eldritch Continent's mighty figures looked at Dong Wangtai with amusement. They were still wondering why they were fighting here. So it was just jealousy. At this moment, the Almighties who had originally wanted to help Dong Wangtai gave up on this idea. They decided to stand by and watch the show. Chapter 15:12. Dong Wangtai was so embarrassed that his face turned red. He roared furiously, "Bastard! The ancient heavenly court has unified the 3 realms and 6 paths of the wilderness. Everything is under the jurisdiction of the heavenly court. As the master of the ancient heavenly court, I came to the lunar star to inspect. What is wrong with that? Not only did you refuse to be inspected by the heavenly court, but you also resisted violently. I think you are in cahoots with demons." Yi Chen sneered disdainfully. "Dong Wangtai, you don't dare to admit what you've done. Is this how you are? I'm not going to argue with you about these useless things. Remember this. Since you have the guts to harass my woman, you should be prepared to suffer my wrath. Prepare to die." Yi Chen roared. His aura soared again, and a terrifying aura swept out in all directions. The auspicious clouds behind Yi Chen had already spread to more than 100,000 miles. There were countless dragons and phoenixes flying in the auspicious clouds. Strands of energy were channeled into Yi Chen's body through the auspicious clouds. The aura on Yi Chen's body also rose along with the tide. Yi Chen's entire body emitted a resplendent golden light. The Rui Jingu Bang in his hand spun rapidly, stirring up the wind and clouds. A strong gust of wind rose out of nowhere, sweeping out in all directions. The 10 demon immortals and his subordinates that Dong Wangtai had brought with him swayed under the influence of the gust of wind. They could not even stand steadily. They had no choice but to fly a few dozen miles away before they could regain their footing. They looked nervously at the battlefield again. Dong Wangtai had the protection of the Bell of Chaos. He was as immovable as a mountain. He looked at Yi Chen proudly and said mockingly, "You want to teach me a lesson? You're really arrogant. If you have the ability, break through my Bell of Chaos first." The powerful beings in the surrounding void heard Dong Wangtai's words. They shook their heads gloatingly. They whispered to each other, "Dong Wangtai, he is bullying us. Everyone knows that the Bell of Chaos is the most offensive magic weapon in Untainted Land. This guy is only at the peak of Daluo Jinxian. How can he break the defense of the Bell of Chaos?" That's right. Dong Wangtai's cultivation base is at the Sage-to-Be level. With the help of the Bell of Chaos, he's already in an invincible position. Today, I'm afraid this brat of the human race will be defeated. Several disciples stood beside the primeval Lord of Heaven in his dojo. They were also observing the changes in the situation on the battlefield. A disciple beside Heavenly Lord Yuanshi asked in a low voice, "Master, I remember that Yi Chen once came to our ashram to listen to the teachings. I didn't expect him to be so arrogant and dare to provoke Dong Wangtai. Let's see how he will end up today." Yuanshi Tianzuan's face was expressionless. He turned to the other 2 disciples and asked, "Do you 2 think so too? Do you think Yi Chen will definitely lose today?" The other two disciples looked at each other, nodded, and said, "Master, it is obvious that Dong Huang Tai has the absolute advantage in terms of cultivation, magic treasures, and personal foundation. Although Yi Chen is also a good seedling, he has not fully matured since he has only been cultivating for a short time." "I think so too. If he can endure the humiliation and concentrate on his cultivation, he might have a chance to compete with Dong Huang Tai in a few tens of thousands of years. It's just that he's too impatient now. Such a person will not be able to achieve great things." Hearing this, Heavenly Primogenitor shook his head slightly and said with a smile, "The result is not out yet. The winner is still unknown. It is too early for you to make a conclusion now." The three disciples asked doubtfully, "Master, do you think Yi Chen still has a chance to make a comeback?" Heavenly Primogenitor did not answer them. Instead, he stretched out his hand and pointed forward. An incomparably vast scene appeared before their eyes. Looking at Dong Huang Tai and Yi Chen in the picture, Heavenly Primogenitor said lightly, "The answer will come out soon. Let's continue to watch the show." Of course, Yi Chen knew that there were countless powerful figures watching in the surrounding void. He was not worried that he would expose his strength. After keeping a low profile for so long, Yi Chen also wanted to show his strength in modern times. He also took this opportunity to announce to the whole untainted land that he, Yi Chen, had come. In the untainted land, no matter who dared to offend Yi Chen, even if he was Dong Huang Tai of the ancient heavenly court, so what? He would still beat him. Yi Chen did not argue with Dong Huang Tai anymore. It was useless to talk too much. He would just beat him directly. The Jingu Bang, which was thousands of feet long, was like a light toy in Yi Chen's hand. With a shrill sound, he whipped it toward Dong Huang Tai. The Rui Jingu Bang let out a shrill sound in the air. It smashed violently on the bell of chaos. In just an instant, Yi Chen had attacked more than 10,000 times. The densely packed loud noises connected together, emitting a sound that made people feel extremely terrified. The sound waves spread out in all directions. Even the powerful figures of the untainted land, who were watching in secret, felt dizzy because of the shock. They had no choice but to withdraw their consciousness a little further. This place was even further away. No one had ever thought that there would be a day when someone would attack the Bell of Chaos so violently and unreasonably. Yi Chen's Rui Jingu Bang's attacks were like a torrential downpour. They were densely packed and poured down relentlessly. Yi Chen seemed to have endless energy in his body. In one breath, he struck the Bell of Chaos hundreds of thousands of times. This left Dong Huang Tai completely dumbfounded. He did not expect Yi Chen to be such a monster. Waving the heavy Rui Jingu Bang at high speed, he attacked him crazily for the time it took for 3 incense sticks to burn. This was really killing him. Although the Bell of Chaos was known as the best defense in the untainted land, it was not invincible. Under Yi Chen's frenzied attacks, the Bell of Chaos was depleting the energy that it had accumulated for thousands of years. The rate of depleting was extremely fast. Dong Huang Tai was starting to worry. If Yi Chen continued attacking like this, once all the energy in the Bell of Chaos was depleted, wouldn't he have to face Yi Chen's terrifying attacks head-on? Around them, whether it was Dong Huang Tai's subordinates or the hidden powerful figures, they were all dumbfounded. They were all shocked by Yi Chen's frenzied attacks. Chapter 15-13. The 10 demon immortals under Dong Huang Tai opened their mouths wide in shock. Am I seeing things? How did this happen? Another demon immortal said solemnly, "Oh no, our celestial emperor is in trouble." Then what are we waiting for? Let's go rescue the celestial emperor. Dong Huang Tai's 10 demon immortals soared into the sky. They transformed into their true forms and charged wildly at Yi Chen. Lava Dragon King, Black Shark, and the rest of the 18 Iron Arhats, who had been watching from the side, roared ferociously and were about to stop them. However, Yi Chen had already sensed the 10 demon immortals under Dong Huang Tai's command. He was holding back his anger, but Dong Huang Tai's bell of chaos was like an unbreakable tortoise shell. No matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't break it. However, Dong Huang Tai wasn't much better off. He was continuously shaken and knocked into within the bell of chaos. His face was bruised and swollen, and his mouth and nose were bleeding. Yi Chen raised his hand and stopped Black Shark and Lava Dragon King from intercepting him. His lips curled into a cold smile. "Since I can't kill you today, I'll collect some interest first." As he spoke, Yi Chen had already flashed in the void. Rui Jingu Bang emitted a terrifying aura again. At this moment, the 10 demon immortals had already broken through the void and pounced into Yi Chen's attack range. Yi Chen didn't hesitate any longer. The Rui Jingu Bang in his hand swept out with a thunderous momentum. The first demon immortal to bear the brunt of the attack immediately roared. He raised 2 innate spiritual treasure level hammers and blocked in front of him. Puff! There was a muffled sound. Like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, it easily broke through the demon immortal's obstruction. As if it was just an illusion, the Jingu Bang didn't stop at all. The demon immortal even wielded his weapon and turned into a bloody mist in the sky. Not even his bones were left. Even his soul tried to escape, but was completely destroyed by a beam of golden light from Yi Chen's eyes. It could be said that his soul had been scattered. When the remaining 9 Yao gods saw this, they immediately sucked in a breath of cold air and trembled all over. But in this moment of shock, Yi Chen's Rui Jingu Bang swept over again. The difference in strength between them couldn't be made up with just a few words. Although these demon immortals were strong and held high in the ancient heavenly palaces. However, compared to Yi Chen, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, they were simply not on the same level. 2 streaks of bloody mist. Another 2 Yao gods' heads were smashed like watermelons by Yi Chen. Red and white splattered everywhere. The demon immortals powerless falling powerlessly. Of the demon immortals. In the blink of an eye, 3 of his capable subordinates were killed by Yi Chen. Dong Huang Tai's eyes were bloodshot. The veins on his forehead bulged and were about to burst. He clenched his teeth so hard that blood flowed out. Dong Huang Tai roared, "Damned bastard! How dare you kill my subordinates? I won't rest until you're dead." As he spoke, Dong Huang Tai controlled the bell of chaos and stood in front of Yi Chen. Dong Huang Tai's face darkened. He turned to his remaining subordinates and scolded, "A bunch of trash. You're no match for him. Get lost." The demon immortals under Dong Huang Tai were embarrassed and furious. They didn't expect to be humiliated so badly today. Not only were they of no help, but they had become a burden to their master. The Rui Jingu Bang twirled in Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen sneered and said, "I didn't expect you to be so hot-blooded. Since that's the case, I'll give you a quick death." Yi Chen raised the Rui Jingu Bang high and smashed it toward Dong Huang Tai again. Dong Huang Tai looked at the huge iron rod that was thousands of feet long and felt a dark cloud pressing down on him. The power of the Rui Jingu Bang in Yi Chen's hand was comparable to the damage caused by thousands of meteors falling to the ground. Every time the Jingu Bang hit, it would cause terrible damage to the Bell of Chaos. Dong Huang Tai was like a rubber ball that couldn't land in the air and was being attacked by Yi Chen crazily. The gods around them all gasped in shock. This guy is crazy. Does he really want to kill Dong Huang Tai here? Isn't he worried about the revenge of the ancient heavenly court? Look at this guy. Is he the kind of person who would worry about revenge? Everyone, remember this. If this guy doesn't die, it's best not to provoke him. Otherwise, we'll learn from Dong Huang Tai's mistakes. Everyone, don't worry. Dong Huang Tai won't die. As long as the Bell of Chaos is here, he'll at most suffer some injuries. His life won't be in danger. The analysis of these almighties was right. Dong Wangtai was being tortured by Yi Chen in the air. He even vomited blood. However, the defense of the Bell of Chaos was impregnable and couldn't be broken. Dong Wangtai felt that today was the most humiliating day of his life. He thought about it and felt that he had no chance of winning against Yi Chen. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and sent out a gust of wind that enveloped the remaining demon immortals. Then he broke through the void and fled pathetically. Yi Chen stared in the direction that Dong Wangtai had disappeared and didn't continue to chase. After all, one shouldn't chase a cornered enemy. Moreover, the commotion here should have alerted the ancient heavenly court. If he chased Dong Wangtai all the way to the ancient heavenly court, then it would be time to shed all pretense of cordiality with the ancient heavenly court and start a head-on war. Although the reincarnation dynasty was developing well and wasn't afraid of starting a war with any faction. However, the reincarnation dynasty wasn't ready to start a war with a colossus like the ancient heavenly court. It would be a lose-lose situation. This was what Yi Chen didn't want to see. Anyway, he had achieved his goal of making an example out of them this time. He believed that after today, those who wanted to harass Chang Shi and Shi He on the Moon Star would have to consider the consequences of angering him. Yi Chen expressionlessly glanced at the divine senses of these almighties hiding in the void. He snorted coldly and ignored these fellows who liked to spy on him in the dark. In a flash, he appeared on both sides of Chang Shi and Shi He. He opened his arms and hugged the two peerless goddesses in his arms. He laughed as Chang Shi and Shi He looked at him shyly. He directly entered the Moon Star. After Yi Chen entered, the protective formation of the Moon Star was immediately activated. The divine senses of those almighties were all blocked outside. Chapter 15-14. As for Black Shark, Lava Dragon King, and the other 18 Iron Arhats, they flew slowly around the lunar star, looking around vigilantly. Seeing that there was nothing to see, all the powerful figures withdrew their divine senses. However, from today onwards, a name called Yi Chen would be firmly imprinted in their minds. When Taishang Laojun withdrew his divine senses, he secretly collided with Honored Lord of the Origin's divine senses. Taishang Laojun said enviously, "You have a better foresight. You even built a good relationship with Yi Chen in advance." Honored Lord of the Origin was a little proud, but he said modestly, "It's up to fate. It was just a piece of cake for me. Who would have thought that this guy would be so promising?" Taishang Laojun did not respond, but returned to his cultivation hall. On the other side, Dong Wangtai returned to the 33rd heaven of the ancient heavenly court. As soon as he appeared, he staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. The void in front of him shook. A crack appeared, and Emperor Jun's body suddenly appeared. Emperor Jun waved his hand, and 2 elixirs shining with majestic essence chi flew into Dong Wangtai's mouth. Dong Wangtai took a deep breath, sat cross-legged on a 10,000-year-old jade futon, and closed his eyes to meditate. The majestic essence chi of the elixirs exploded in his body, quickly repairing his damaged meridians. In just 2 breaths, Dong Wangtai had fully recovered. Dong Wangtai gritted his teeth and looked at Emperor Jun, saying, "Brother, I've lost a lot of face today. This is not over. Immediately mobilize the Heavenly Court's army. I want to completely destroy the Samsara dynasty." Emperor Jun waved his hand slightly and dissuaded him. "Calm down. Yi Chen is just a clown. You can deal with him at any time. Don't forget who the biggest threat to the demon tribe is." Hearing Emperor Jun's words, Dong Wangtai finally calmed down. He asked meaningfully, "Brother, are you talking about the old guys of the Wu tribe?" Emperor Jun nodded solemnly and said, "That's right. According to the intelligence from various places, the Wu tribe is already dissatisfied with our demon tribe and has begun to stir. Many of our spies in the Wu tribe have been removed. At this critical moment, we can't afford to make any mistakes. Dong Wang Tai took a deep breath as an extremely unresigned look flashed across his eyes. Finally, he said in a deep voice, "Big brother, I understand. Don't worry, I'll look at the big picture and remember this grudge for now. After I'm done with the sorcerer tribe, I'll settle the score with him." At this moment, Yi Chen was Emperor Jun's moon palace. Chang Shi and Shiha were on his left and right. Chang Shi took out a sparkling and translucent amber wine cup. And she poured jade wine. She lifted Yi Chen's to heaven and Yi Shark. Shiha knelt on one side, gently tapping Yi Chen's thigh. Shiha narrowed her eyes and said to Yi Chen with a smile, "My husband, you were so powerful today. You taught that bastard a lesson and helped us vent our anger." Chang Shi also said with emotion, "Yes, my husband. That bastard has been pestering us outside the moon star. If you didn't come, we wouldn't know what to do." Yi Chen laughed and put Chang Shi and Shiha on his thigh. He said to them, "Don't worry. After this lesson, I don't think Dong Wang Tai will dare to come again." Then Yi Chen looked at the protective formation outside the moon star. With a wave of his hand, countless supreme-grade immortal stones appeared out of thin air. They were transferred by Yi Chen. 300 formation masters quickly appeared from the small world. When these formation masters saw Yi Chen, they immediately knelt in the void excitedly. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Yi Chen raised his hand and said, "Get up. I called you out this time to strengthen the protective formation on the moon star. The goal is to strengthen it by more than 10 times. If you need any materials, just transfer them from the small world. You don't have to ask for my permission." "Yes, Your Majesty. Don't worry." After saying that, these formation masters quickly got to work. Pieces of rare materials flew out of the small world, and countless supreme-grade immortal stones moved without wind. They were embedded in the void according to various complicated positions. The protective formation outside the moon star also moved with the wind. In less than an hour, the power of the entire protective formation increased by more than 10 times. Now, even if a sage were to bombard it from the outside, it would take at least 4 hours for them to break through this defense. Chang Shi and He were so moved that they fell into Yi Chen's arms. "Darling, you are so kind to us. Are you going to leave this time?" Yi Chen smiled and comforted them. "For us cultivators, 100 years is just a blink of an eye. Don't worry. This time, in addition to strengthening the protective formation of the moon star, I will also set up a transmission formation in the palace. The other end is in the harem of the Samsara dynasty. If you two are bored here, you can go back to the harem of the Samsara dynasty through the transmission formation. There are many of your sisters there. I believe you will get along very well." The two women asked uneasily, "Darling, will those sisters accept us?" Yi Chen laughed and said, "Then you really underestimate your husband's taste. How can the women I like be so petty?" While speaking, Yi Chen directly hugged the two women. He strode toward their harem. He even said with a smile, "It's said that absence makes the heart grow fonder. We haven't seen each other for so long. Today I will make it up to you." Not long after, in the palace of the moon star, wonderful music sounded one after another. It was too wonderful for words. Yi Chen's body was so strong that it was almost inhuman. By the time he left, the two women were already lying on the bed like soft mud, snoring loudly. Yi Chen looked at them with a little reluctance, but still broke the void and left. Yi Chen did not bring back the Lava Dragon King, Black Shark, and the other 18 Iron Arhats. He directly asked them to guard the surroundings of the moon star. Because this time, Yi Chen also felt a sense of crisis. The untainted land was about to change greatly. He had to make all the emergency preparations. Chapter 15:15. After returning to the sacred city of reincarnation, an official in charge of the Dragon, Phoenix, and Kirin tribes brought good news to Yi Chen. The 9th-grade purple Ganoderma that Yi Chen brought back from the netherworld had played a major role. Many of the dragon and phoenix tribes had laid eggs again. This was simply great news for the dragons and phoenixes. Dragons soared into the sky and phoenixes danced. The entire sacred city of reincarnation was bathed in a peaceful atmosphere. At this moment, a clap of thunder suddenly sounded in the sky. System announcement: a temporary emergency mission has been triggered. All players above the level of Golden Immortal can enter the immemorial realm through the space-time nodes of the Eldritch Continent within 3 days to find and kill Qin Hongtu. Mission reward: a treasure that is no less valuable than the Eldritch Continent's 10 great divine artifacts. The entire Eldritch Continent was shocked when the mission was announced. What? It's a temporary emergency mission? Who triggered it? And where is the immemorial realm? Who knows? But that's not important. The most important thing is that the reward is a treasure that is no less valuable than the 10 great divine artifacts. What kind of treasure is that? Look carefully. Only those above the level of Golden Immortal are qualified to participate. You Celestial Immortals and even Earth Immortal rookies can forget about it. This is not fair. Why can't we Celestial Immortals participate? Isn't this discrimination? Have some self-awareness. With your level of cultivation, what's the point of participating? Are you going to die? Yi Chen also heard the system announcement. He frowned. This mission appeared out of nowhere and actually asked for a treasure that was no less valuable than the 10 great divine artifacts as a reward. Moreover, the mission clues were also very vague. Go to the immemorial realm to find and kill Qin Hongtu? Other than that, there were no other clues. Who was this Qin Hongtu? Was he a person or a force? How big was the immemorial realm? How many people had the same name? None of this was clear. However, Yi Chen would never let go of this mission. The weirder the mission, the more generous the reward. Yi Chen estimated that a treasure that was no less valuable than the 10 great divine artifacts was only one of the rewards. According to his experience, there must be other benefits. After the battle with Dong Wangtai, Yi Chen also understood his shortcomings. That was when facing a supreme treasure like the Chaos Bell, one of the 10 great divine artifacts. He didn't have the slightest idea of what to do, and he couldn't even break through his defenses. Therefore, this time, he must get the reward of this temporary emergency mission in his hands. Sure enough, after the system announcement, teleportation circles that were flashing with green light appeared in different places in the Eldritch Land. These teleportation formations could only be seen by those who had ascended to the primitive continent. The native cultivators of the Great Wilderness could not see it at all. Even though he was standing on the teleportation array, there was no reaction. Even if those cultivators below the Golden Immortal realm were to stand on the teleportation array, they would be pushed away by a domineering force. For a moment, all the cultivators who had reached the Gold Immortal realm among the other folk rubbed their palms and rushed to the various teleportation points. Yi Chen made a unified arrangement for the affairs of the Samsara dynasty. Then, he rode on the infernal demon dragon and flew to the teleportation array closest to the Samsara dynasty at lightning speed. Along the way, Yi Chen saw many other folk players riding on various mounts and moving as fast as lightning. Although the requirement of this mission was not low. However, the Eldritch Land was vast and boundless. At the same time, there were countless small worlds that had ascended to the Eldritch Land. Therefore, there were millions of other folk players who had reached the Golden Immortal realm. There were still too few teleportation points in the Eldritch Land. Under the impact of a large number of other folk players, it was crowded. There were conflicts in places with many people, and some hot-tempered cultivators even fought near those teleportation points. For a moment, these cultivators called their friends and companions. All kinds of energy burst out, and fierce battles were fought. When Yi Chen arrived at a teleportation point, there were two forces that did not give in to each other and were fighting crazily. There were already cultivators who were beaten to death before they could enter the teleportation array. At this moment, a terrifying pressure descended from the sky. It frightened the combatants on both sides and made them stop attacking at the same time. They turned their heads to look. Directly, an abyssal demon dragon that was more than tens of thousands of feet long descended from the sky. The abyssal demon dragon emitted a scorching heat. This heat wave swept in all directions, and these cultivators quickly dodged. Who is this person? He looks so arrogant. That's right, his mount is too cool. I feel that we can't even be swallowed by his mount. You don't even know this person, and you dare to say that you are well informed. He is the famous king of the reincarnation dynasty, Yi Chen. Haha, so he is Yi Chen. I heard that a while ago, even the heavenly court's Dong Wang Tai was beaten to a pulp by him and fled in panic. Yi Chen saw that this group of other folk players had tactfully retreated to the sides and did not make things difficult for them. He strode into the teleportation array. However, he received a notification that the abyssal demon dragon could not enter with him. Yi Chen immediately frowned. He did not expect the rules to be so strict this time. Since the abyssal demon dragon could not enter, then the nether mantis could not enter with him either. He had lost a great help. Yi Chen then put the abyssal demon dragon into his small world. When Yi Chen stepped into the teleportation array again, a ray of light flashed smoothly. It disappeared, and these cultivators near the teleportation array looked at each other in bewilderment. Finally, they shook their heads and said, "Let's not fight. If we have the strength, we can fight after entering the immemorial realm. Otherwise, it would be a pity if we were killed before we even entered." So everyone quietly lined up and disappeared into the teleportation array one by one. Just as the system's notification said, these teleportation arrays only existed for 3 days and then disappeared without a trace. This made some cultivators who had traveled a long distance and arrived with great difficulty but did not enter the teleportation array all beat their chests and stamped their feet in regret. At this time, Yi Chen felt that he was in boundless chaos. It was pitch black all around. He could not even see his own fingers. It was as if he was passing through a space-time black hole quickly. At this time, Chen could no longer feel the flow of time. It was as if everything had stopped. He did not know how much time had passed. Yi Chen suddenly felt that there was a bright light in front of his eyes. All of a sudden, he appeared in the middle of the void. And Yi Chen was surprised to find that the laws of heaven and earth here were different. He did not feel any spiritual energy of heaven and earth here like in the primeval world. And Yi Chen himself was falling from the sky at an extremely high speed. Yi Chen glanced and frowned tightly. At this time, he was still tens of thousands of feet above the ground, and his falling speed was getting faster and faster. Yi Chen discovered that all of his spells had lost their effectiveness. Chapter 15-16. Yi Chen was descending at a terrifying speed. However, he did not panic at all and calmly dealt with this matter. He could not mobilize the essence chi of heaven and earth, and he could not even open the small world and the interspatial ring normally. Yi Chen also tried to summon the connate cardinal treasures in his body. However, the cardinal treasures, including the 12th grade Black Lotus of Destruction, did not respond at all. Yi Chen's lips curled into a smile. This task was a bit interesting. He could not use his cultivation at all, and he could not even use the Dharma treasures in his body. What kind of place was this immemorial realm? Who was Qin Hongtu? The speed at which he was descending from tens of thousands of feet in the sky was getting faster and faster. Yi Chen gradually curled up his knees. He calmly sized up the environment under his feet. It seemed that there was a vast and boundless forest under his feet. Boom! In an instant, Yi Chen's body smashed into the forest like a cannonball. The ground shook violently. A huge tree with a diameter of more than 10 meters collapsed after being hit by Yi Chen. A huge pit more than 10 meters deep appeared on the ground. In the next moment, Yi Chen jumped out of the deep pit. He gritted his teeth and stretched his muscles and bones. Needless to say, this fall was not light. However, Yi Chen's body had long been tempered to the point that it was like a diamond. To him, such a small injury did not harm his muscles or bones. It was said that the primeval age was the most barbaric era. However, Yi Chen looked around and found that this forest seemed to be even older than the primeval age. The trees here were more than 10 meters in diameter, and some were even more than a mile in diameter. The huge treetops seemed to be able to cover a city. Yi Chen nimbly climbed to the top of a big tree and looked as far as he could. This seemed to be an endless barbaric forest. In the distance, tigers roared and apes cried, and a giant eagle soared into the sky. The giant eagle's wings were at least 20 miles wide. Yi Chen released his divine sense and found that it could only cover less than 100 miles. His cultivation base had shrunk severely. The last time this happened was in the foggy swamp. But this time, the situation seemed to be even more serious. This time, he couldn't even open his universe ring and small world, let alone summon the nether mantis and abyssal demon dragon. In other words, he could only rely on himself this time. Yi Chen smiled in a carefree manner. In the beginning, he had relied on himself to start from scratch. He believed that the mission this time would not be too difficult for him. Yi Chen sat cross-legged on a thick tree branch. He closed his eyes and sensed the aura of the savage forest. Soon, he sensed that the air in the wild forest was filled with an explosive and fiery love energy. This energy was extremely violent, completely different from the heaven and earth spirit chi in the great desolate world. If he rashly absorbed it into his body, it would cause great damage to his meridians. Yi Chen relied on his incomparably strong body to turn danger into safety, and did not suffer any injuries. However, it was different for the other cultivators who came to the immemorial realm with Yi Chen. When they found that the spirit chi in their bodies was malfunctioning, they could not open their universe rings, and all their methods were useless, they panicked. They could only watch as they rapidly fell from the sky. Then, they fell to the ground and shattered into pieces, turning into streams of light and disappearing. Fortunately, these players were protected in this dungeon. When these players fell from the sky and died, in the next moment, they reappeared outside the portal. Countless mutant players looked at each other in confusion. What's going on? Why were we eliminated as soon as we entered? How would I know? Anyway, when I fell, I just happened to fall into a stone forest. I was smashed to pieces. Then you're lucky. I happened to fall into a swamp and didn't fall to my death. Before I could rejoice, a group of crocodiles the size of hills surrounded me. Soon, the world channel was in an uproar. According to the statistics of the mutant players, this time, more than 90% of the players who came to the immemorial realm died from falling from the sky or died from various causes. Only a very small number of players were lucky enough to fall into the sea or be stopped by those thick vines. Only then did they survive. However, this was just the beginning. Soon, the players discovered that the difficulty of this mission could be said to be insane. This was a barbaric world without any spirit chi of heaven and earth. The air was full of violent energy that could not be absorbed. Some players did not believe in heresy and quietly tried to absorb some into their bodies. Before they could start to refine this violent energy, the internal organs of these players were directly shattered into pieces. This player also exploded and died. He was miserably eliminated. Next, there were still some players who did not believe in heresy and tried one after another. After they were all eliminated, no one dared to easily absorb this violent energy. Yi Chen glanced at the world channel that was in a mess and shook his head. Those players who fell to their deaths were really tragic. However, this also indirectly proved that these players' cultivation was not that high. They only cared about improving their cultivation and did not fully train their physique. Therefore, after losing the energy, there was no other way. Others did not dare to try to absorb the violent energy in the air, but Yi Chen was different. His meridians and body were hundreds of times stronger than others. In his body, there was also a strong power of merit that was slowly circulating, protecting his meridians. Yi Chen did not expect that the power of merit in his body would not be restricted by this world. However, the most important thing now was to leave this barbaric forest and go to a place with people. Yi Chen believed that since the system gave them the mission to find and kill Qin Hongtu, there must be a civilization here. As long as he went to a civilized society, he would find a way to understand them. Yi Chen took a deep breath and stood up. He looked in a direction and suddenly stepped on the branch under his feet. His whole body jumped up nimbly like an ape. He jumped hundreds of feet in one leap. Yi Chen's speed was extremely fast. He moved quickly in the forest. Ever since he broke through the tribulation stage and became an immortal, he rarely used his pure physical strength to fly at such a high speed. The feeling of a gust of wind whistling past his ears was simply amazing. Yi Chen fully mobilized the muscles and strength in his body to adapt to the laws of heaven and earth. His speed also became faster and faster. He was like a shadow that swept past the treetops. Chapter 15-17. In one day, Yi Chen traveled tens of thousands of kilometers. Unfortunately, he still could not find the edge of the savage jungle. Yi Chen found a safe tree hole and rested for the night before continuing his journey. Just like that, 3 days later, Yi Chen advanced 50,000 kilometers in a certain direction. Finally, the scene before him opened up. In front of him was a boundless plain. Yi Chen could not help but sing loudly. He had finally left this damned savage jungle. He believed that there should be a city on this plain. Bang! At this moment, Yi Chen suddenly heard a loud sound coming from afar. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. This loud sound was so familiar. It was like the sound of guns and cannons on Earth before the mutation. Could it be that he had encountered the civilization of the immemorial realm so soon? Yi Chen tried his best not to make any sound and quietly moved forward. He was on a small hill. Yi Chen soon saw two groups of people confronting each other. On one side were dozens of tall soldiers in black armor. They were holding a long black spear in their hands and were nervously aiming ahead. It was obvious that the gunshot Yi Chen heard just now was fired by this group of soldiers. In front of them stood two young men. They were a man and a woman, and they looked a little miserable. The muzzles of these black-armored soldiers were all aimed at the vital points of the man and woman. One of the black-armored officers said coldly, "The two of you, stop resisting. Our security organization has already sealed off the entire border. You can't escape. Hurry up and surrender." The young man with disheveled hair on the opposite side did not seem to hear the officer's threat. He turned his head and looked at the girl gently, saying, "Junior sister, I'll hold them back in a while. Don't look back. Keep running forward. As long as you enter the territory of the Northern Dynasty, you'll be safe." The young girl's face was covered in tears. She stubbornly shook her head and said, "Eldest senior brother, I don't want to. If we want to go, let's go together." The eldest senior brother's expression became stern. "Junior sister, you have to be obedient. Don't forget our mission." The young girl cried and said, "I don't want any mission. Father is dead. First elder is dead. Second elder is dead. Third elder is dead. First elder, come with me." Eldest senior brother took a deep breath and patted the girl's shoulder. "Don't worry, neither of us will die. Eldest senior brother promises you. You go first, I'll be there soon." The young girl took a deep breath and finally nodded. She turned into a wisp of green smoke and quickly retreated. When the black-armored soldiers saw this, they immediately roared, "How dare you escape? Fire immediately!" Bang! 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 The black-armored army continued to pull the trigger, shooting out powerful bullets from their guns. Like a storm, it enveloped the eldest senior brother and the young girl. Yi Chen saw clearly that a huge rock the size of a millstone, weighing tens of thousands of kilograms, was kicked away by that youth with one kick. It smashed towards the group of black-armored soldiers with a whistling sound. Bang! It was just a bullet, but the boulder was smashed into pieces, filling the sky with debris. Yi Chen frowned and took a deep breath. What kind of gun was this? How could it have such great power? Only a small rocket launcher would have this kind of power before the Earth had undergone the mutation. Could it be that this world's firearms were already so advanced? Yi Chen narrowed his eyes and continued to watch the development of the situation in front of him. The bullets were like a torrential downpour, forming a cage of death that enveloped the area in front of them. Some of the bullets hit the ground and immediately blasted out a huge crater with a radius of 10 feet. This kind of power was no different from a cannonball, but the shooting speed was extremely fast. Hundreds of bullets could be shot out every minute. The young girl's speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, she had already appeared tens of thousands of feet away. These bullets did not cause any substantial damage to the young girl. It was mainly the young girl's eldest senior brother who faced the bullets shot by dozens of black-armored soldiers. He suddenly let out a roar, and his body suddenly expanded, turning into a 3-meter-tall giant. The muscles on his body were knotted together, making him look like a demon's muscle man. These black-armored soldiers showed no mercy and poured all of their bullets on his body. Those bullets that could shatter a boulder with just one shot only dented the size of a finger when they hit the eldest senior brother's body. They bounced back at an even faster speed. Following a series of screams, 5 or 6 black-armored soldiers were shot in half by their own bullet. They died on the spot. One of the black-armored soldiers was slightly luckier and had both of his legs shattered by his own bullet. Although it was not fatal, it was still extremely painful. He fell there and screamed crazily. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and sighed in his heart. He had seen the power of these bullets. He believed that if he could not use the energy in his body, he could take on these bullets with just the strength of his body. However, Yi Chen's body had been tempered thousands of times and had gone through countless opportunities to reach this level. However, this young man was able to take on these bullets with the strength of his body. He was indeed not simple. Yi Chen became somewhat interested in him. Seeing this, one of the black-armored officers immediately roared, "This bastard has already broken through the peak of the 6th stage. Ordinary bullets are useless against him. All of you, change to armor-piercing bullets." In an instant, all of the black-armored soldiers took out a special cartridge from their waists and changed it to their guns. Then, they opened fire at the eldest senior brother again. However, this time, the eldest senior brother did not dare to take on these special armor-piercing bullets. These armor-piercing bullets were specially developed to deal with warriors. They could easily penetrate a piece of well-tempered steel with a thickness of more than 7 feet. This eldest senior brother stomped on the ground. The ground within a radius of 10 miles shook violently as if a magnitude 9 earthquake had occurred. Huge fissures even appeared on the ground one after another. This eldest senior brother took the opportunity to kick 2 huge blue stones into the sky and violently smashed forward. Those armor-piercing bullets easily penetrated these huge rocks and continued to shoot forward. However, the 2 boulders had changed the angle of the shooting to some extent. Chapter 15-18. The eldest senior brother dodged the arrows of the black-armored soldiers without any mishap. He kicked the boulders around him into the air and threw them at the soldiers. At the same time, he pounced on them at an even faster speed. Like a gecko, the eldest senior brother's speed was extremely fast. After leaving behind a string of afterimages, he finally stood in front of a soldier in black armor like a ghost. Under the horrified gaze of the soldier in black armor, the eldest senior brother's lips curled into a sinister smile. He grabbed the barrel of the soldier's gun with one hand and gently twisted it. With a loud boom, the gun's barrel exploded. The soldier in black armor was also blown to pieces in an instant. The eldest senior brother's expression did not change at all. In an instant, he retreated and smashed the head of one of the soldiers in black armor with a slap. When the others saw this, they all distanced themselves and continued to shoot at the eldest senior brother. Unfortunately, it was too late now. The eldest senior brother moved like a ghost and smashed the heads of the soldiers in black armor one by one like a cold-blooded butcher. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the dozens of soldiers in black armor were slaughtered by the eldest senior brother. Just as the eldest senior brother was about to kill all the soldiers in black armor, a roar suddenly came from afar. "Stop, or I'll crush her neck!" Yi Chen and the eldest senior brother looked over at the same time. They saw about 100 soldiers in black armor appear in the distance. 2 of the tall soldiers in black armor were holding a short body. Judging from her body shape and the clothes she was wearing, she was clearly the young junior sister who had just parted with the eldest senior brother. At this moment, the junior sister's body was covered in blood. Her arms and legs were all twisted in a weird way. It was obvious that they were broken. One of the bearded black-armored soldiers stood behind the little junior sister. He grabbed her hair and raised her little junior sister's little face. The bearded man sneered at the eldest senior brother and said, "This girl is your junior sister, right? She's really fast. If it weren't for the 2 sharpshooters in my team who broke her arms and legs, she would have really escaped." Eldest senior brother's eyes instantly turned red as he roared madly, little junior sister, how are you?" As if hearing her senior brother's call, the junior sister opened her eyes with difficulty and smiled bitterly at her senior brother. "Senior brother, I didn't expect that I still couldn't escape. Let's just leave it at that. I'm too tired. Eldest senior brother, if you didn't have to take care of me along the way, you would have escaped long ago. I don't want to be a burden to you anymore." Eldest senior brother seemed to have realized something and roared angrily, "Little junior sister, don't mess around. I have a way to save you." The bearded man roared anxiously, "Brat, hand over the things you stole immediately, and I'll let this little girl go." However, it was already too late. That junior sister had already made up her mind to seek death. He heard a burst of popping sounds coming from little junior sister's body. Then, her head drooped down and there was no sound. Yi Chen hid on the hillside and saw everything clearly. That junior sister had already made up her mind to die, and she was quite ruthless. She broke all the bones and meridians in her body. Even the gods couldn't save her. "Ah, you've forced junior sister to her death. I want all of you to die." Eldest senior brother's black hair turned crimson in an instant. 2 streams of blood flowed down from the corners of his eyes. Eldest senior brother roared madly and pounced on the soldiers in black armor in front of him. "Fire, fire! Hurry up and fire!" Instantly, the new group of soldiers in black armor and the original ones in black armor attacked eldest senior brother from the front and back. They all fired at him. At this moment, eldest senior brother was like a demon god who had fallen into the mortal world. He killed crazily and didn't dodge the bullets at all. Those armor-piercing bullets that could pierce through steel armor only caused blood to splatter on eldest senior brother's body. In less than the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, the 100 or so soldiers in black armor were all killed by eldest senior brother. Corpses were everywhere and blood flowed like a river. In the end, eldest senior brother, who was covered in wounds, staggered to junior sister and knelt on the ground. He lowered his head and seemed to be thinking about something. Yi Chen sighed in his heart. He had just left the savage forest when he saw such a cruel battle. It was almost a situation where both sides were injured. He was a little surprised that these people's guns were so powerful. He was also surprised that eldest senior brother's body was almost as strong as the elite disciples of the witch tribe in the untainted world. At this moment, eldest senior brother suddenly turned his head and roared fiercely, "Who's hiding there? Come out!" As he spoke, He slapped a huge rock the size of a millstone towards Yi Chen in the air. Yi Chen sneered and didn't dodge at all. He also soared into the sky and kicked in the air. With a boom, the huge rock was also smashed by Yi Chen in the air. Eldest senior brother stood up and opened his arms slightly. He stared at Yi Chen fiercely and said, "Boy, are you from the Southern Dynasty or the Northern Dynasty?" Yi Chen shook his head and said, "Neither. I'm just a passerby. I mean you no harm." Eldest senior brother suddenly sneered and said, "This is the border between the Southern Dynasty and the Northern Dynasty. Gunfire is everywhere all year round and there are few people here. You actually passed by here? It's obvious that you're guilty. If you don't tell me the truth, I'll kill you now." Yi Chen looked at eldest senior brother and suddenly sneered and said, "Don't pretend. More than 80% of your meridians have been broken and your heart has been broken. It's indeed a miracle that you can live until now." After eldest senior brother heard this, he lowered his head unwillingly and took away the wound on his chest. Sure enough, blood was flowing out. In the battle with the black-armored soldiers earlier, eldest senior brother Yi had killed all of them, but he had also paid a terrible price. His body had been shot like a sieve, and even his heart had been pierced by an armor-piercing bullet. Even so, the eldest senior brother was still unwilling to give up and asked, "I'm about to die. Tell me, are you from the Southern Dynasty?" Yi Chen saw that eldest senior brother was about to die and shook his head and replied, "You can rest assured about this. I'm not from the Southern Dynasty." Eldest senior brother heaved a sigh of relief and took out a small booklet with some difficulty. What was strange was that eldest senior brother's strong body was riddled with holes by armor-piercing bullets. However, this booklet was made of an unknown material that was undamaged. Chapter 15-19. Grand Senior Brother looked at the booklet with a complicated expression, then slowly handed it to Yi Chen. "Take it. Many of our Central Sect's disciples died for this incantation. If you go to the Northern Dynasty in the future, go to the Sun-Moon Celestial Sect and give this incantation to them. If you don't have the chance, then forget it." Yi Chen didn't reach out to take it. Instead, he frowned and said, "I can't stay here for too long. I'm sorry, I can't help you fulfill your wish." Seeing this, eldest senior brother did not force her. He lay weakly beside little junior sister with the booklet placed on his chest. His breathing was weak as he said, "We've done our best. If the Sun-Moon Sky Sect is really going to be destroyed, then there's nothing we can do." Yi Chen suddenly thought of something and asked, "Have you heard of Qin Hongtu?" Grand senior brother was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said, "No, but there are hundreds of millions of people in the Northern and Southern dynasties. They're like the stars in the galaxy. There are probably many people called Red Qin Hongtu." "Oh right, my name is Han Qing." Yi Chen had expected this answer. After all, with just a name and no other information, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to find him in such a vast immemorial realm. And at this moment, that eldest senior brother who called himself Han Qing also breathed his last and breathed his last. Yi Chen sighed. It would be too pitiful if Han Qing and his junior sister were to die in the wilderness like this. Yi Chen dragged grand senior brother with one hand and junior sister with the other. They came to a place with good feng shui on the mountain, dug a hole, and put the two in side by side. Just as Yi Chen was about to cover the hole, he hesitated, then reached out with his hand. The booklet automatically flew into his hand. Then Yi Chen buried Han Qing and his junior sister together in a simple grave. After making a mark, Yi Chen continued forward. He took out the booklet and flipped through it as he walked. Only then did he know that this booklet had a resounding name, Heaven and Earth Art. The name was quite domineering, but he didn't know what it was used for. However, when Yi Chen left, he didn't notice that there was a small recording device on the shoulder of one of the corpses. It had already transmitted everything that had happened. Yi Chen took large strides towards the north. He now understood. These people with advanced weapons were the so-called soldiers of the Southern Dynasty, while Han Qing was a martial artist of the Northern Dynasty. These two countries seemed to be at loggerheads with each other. Yi Chen headed north. Soon, he discovered that the border between the Northern and Southern dynasties was vast and boundless. They had already traveled several thousand miles, but there was still no sign of life. Yi Chen continued to move forward. Suddenly, the sound of an intense battle came from the front. Yi Chen perked up again. As long as there were people around, things would be easier. This time, he couldn't let him die like Han Qing. When Yi Chen rushed over, he saw a middle-aged man wearing coarse clothes. He was holding a hatchet that flickered with a cold light. He was fighting with a green wolf the size of a calf. Yi Chen could clearly see that this green wolf was not a demonic beast, but an ordinary wild beast. There was no demonic aura circulating in its body, but this green wolf was extremely strong. Those sharp claws plowed deep trenches on the ground one after another. Fortunately, the middle-aged man was agile. However, Yi Chen estimated that the middle-aged man wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer, because the middle-aged man's left leg had been scratched so deep that the bone could be seen. Fresh blood had dyed his pants red. The middle-aged man clenched his teeth and tried his best to dodge. The hatchet in his hand constantly fell on the green wolf. It was a pity that he couldn't even break its fur. Yi Chen knew that it was time for him to make a move. Otherwise, the middle-aged man would be bitten to death by the green wolf. Like a whirlwind, Yi Chen descended from the sky. He kicked the green wolf's chin. The green wolf let out a miserable cry. Its several thousand-kilogram body flew more than 30 meters, and then fell heavily on the ground. With such a heavy body falling from the sky, the green wolf died on the spot. All the bones in its body were broken. Seeing this, the middle-aged man finally breathed a sigh of relief. His legs went soft, and he sat down on the ground with a plop. After 2 violent gasps, the middle-aged man said to Yi Chen, "Thank you for saving my life. Otherwise, my old bones would have to give up today." Yi Chen waved his hand slightly and said, "I saw injustice on the road, so I just casually helped. How are your injuries?" The middle-aged man smiled bitterly. "It's nothing serious. It's just that it's a bit difficult to walk." "Where is your home? I'll send you there." Then, without any explanation, Yi Chen carried the middle-aged man on his back and strode towards the north. After 2 steps, Yi Chen turned back and picked up the green wolf's corpse. "All right, you were hunting just now, right? Then let's not waste this green wolf's corpse. Let's bring it back together." The middle-aged man was very touched. He kept saying, "Hurry up and put me down. My body is covered in blood. I've dirtied your clothes." However, Yi Chen didn't put him down. Instead, he laughed heartily and said, "It's okay if your clothes are dirty. You can just wash them again. Besides, how long will it take for you to go home in this state?" Under the middle-aged man's guidance, Yi Chen flew forward at an extremely fast speed. Soon, a small town appeared in front of them. Even though it was just a small town, the walls here were actually several hundred meters tall and 6 meters wide. It was simply a small battle fortress. There were constantly soldiers patrolling back and forth on the walls. The middle-aged man behind him explained. Because they were just a lone town in the grassland, there were often some beasts that came to harass them. That was why the walls were so high. Yi Chen also understood the reason. During the conversation, Yi Chen also learned the middle-aged man's surname. He directly called him Uncle Jiang. Uncle Jiang had always been living in Qingyang town. He originally wanted to hunt some antelopes and other herbivores in the grassland. He didn't expect to meet a lone wolf. If he didn't happen to meet Yi Chen, Uncle Jiang would have completely died. Obviously, the soldiers at the town gate all knew Uncle Jiang. They didn't stop them and directly rushed into the town. Following Uncle Jiang's guidance, Yi Chen found Uncle Jiang's house on a hillside in the northernmost part of Qingyang town. Chapter 1520. As soon as they arrived at Uncle Jiang's door, a young girl in green clothes walked out. When she saw her father on Yi Chen's back, her expression immediately changed. She quickly rushed up and asked anxiously, "Father, how are you?" Uncle Jiang forced a smile on his face and comforted her. "Don't worry, I'm fine. I have to thank Brother Yi for bringing me back. Hurry up and call him Brother Yi." The girl glanced at Yi Chen and said gratefully, "Brother Yi, thank you." Yi Chen smiled and carried Uncle Jiang into the house and put him on the bed. On the way, Yi Chen had already bandaged his wounds. He only needed to rest for a few days and he would be fine. This was because Yi Chen's universe ring and small world could not be opened. Otherwise, any pill would be able to completely heal Uncle Jiang. Yi Chen also fabricated a background for himself on the way. He said that he grew up in the mountains with his master and had just left the mountains to gain experience. He did not care whether Uncle Jiang believed him or not, but he did not ask too much. Under Uncle Jiang's instructions, his daughter, Jiang Xiaoyu, had already made a small room for Yi Chen to stay. Yi Chen, who did not have a place to stay, naturally obeyed. That night, in order to thank Yi Chen for saving her father, Jiang Xiaoyu made a table full of delicious food and wine. Uncle Jiang ignored Jiang Xiaoyu's dissuasion and insisted on drinking with Yi Chen. The wine in this world was spicy and rough. Although the taste was not good, it was definitely strong enough. Yi Chen picked up the coarse porcelain bowl and drank 2 mouthfuls. Uncle Jiang gave him a thumbs up in admiration and said, "What a good man! A man who drinks happily is the most straightforward." Jiang Xiaoyu looked at Uncle Jiang with dissatisfaction and said, "Father, can't you wait until your injuries are better before drinking? Don't you know that you are still injured?" Uncle Jiang laughed and said, "What do you know, little girl? I'm just drinking some wine to clear my blood vessels, so I'll recover faster." Yi Chen also smiled and said, "Sister Xiaoyu, you don't have to worry too much about your father. It's just some superficial wounds. Uncle Jiang is as strong as a tiger. He'll recover in a few days." Seeing that even Yi Chen had said so, Jiang Xiaoyu naturally didn't say anything else. After 3 rounds of drinks, Uncle Jiang had obviously drunk a little too much. His coarse face was bright red, and his voice had also become louder. Under Yi Chen's intentional guidance, Uncle Jiang also talked about the current situation of the Primordial Chaos Realm. The Primordial Chaos Realm was currently embroiled in a fierce battle between the Northern and Southern dynasties. It was said that the Northern Dynasty and the Southern Dynasty were originally part of a huge empire. But later on, it fell apart. The Northern Dynasty worshipped martial prowess, and most of its people were cultivators who could fly. However, the Southern Dynasty worshipped technology, and their weapons were very advanced. It was said that there was a super weapon that could destroy an entire city. In the Northern Dynasty, cultivators were divided into 16 ranks. Han Qing, whom Yi Chen had seen before, was only at the peak of the 6th stage. As for Uncle Jiang, his strength was estimated to be at the middle of the 2nd stage. Yi Chen had seen Han Qing's strength with his own eyes. According to his estimation, if Han Qing was placed in the Eldritch world, he would at least have the cultivation of a human immortal. Then this was interesting. In this primordial chaos realm without any spirit chi, how strong could cultivators at the 12th, 13th, and 16th stage be? Yi Chen also knew that the town they were in was called Qingyang Town. Within a radius of thousands of miles, there were many towns like Qingyang Town scattered around. Basically, the sky was high and the emperor was far away. Although there were also town mayors sent by the imperial court. But in this kind of border town, most of the local bullies had the final say. The city guards of Qingyang Town were also selected from the major families in the town. From this, it could be seen how weak the mayor's control over Qingyang Town was. As Uncle Jiang spoke, he sat on the chair and fell asleep. Yi Chen could only carry him to the bed with Jiang Xiaoyu. Then, Yi Chen went back to his room to rest. Although the room was quite shabby, and the furnishings were also some old things, it was very clean. But they were all very clean. Even the quilt on the bed had the smell of sunshine. At a glance, one could tell that Jiang Xiaoyu was very diligent. Yi Chen sat on the bed and slowly exhaled. The smell of alcohol was all expelled by him. Although he could not use the energy in his body, Yi Chen's control of his body had already reached the point of perfection. The smell of alcohol did not affect him at all. Then Yi Chen took out the Heaven and Earth Arts book from his bosom. He also wanted to see what kind of mysteries were hidden in such a domineering name. He was a little disappointed when he saw it. It was far inferior to the cultivation method he cultivated. It could be used temporarily. Then Yi Chen continued to sit there and cultivate. Yi Chen compared himself to Han Qing. His current physical cultivation was slightly stronger than Han Qing's. Han Qing's cultivation was at the peak of the 6th stage, so his cultivation was probably between the 7th and 8th stage. The next morning, Yi Chen woke up and breathed in the unique fresh air of this world. His mood had also relaxed a lot. Last night, he had also tried to ask Uncle Jiang about it. However, Uncle Jiang had never heard of Qin Hongtu before. Yi Chen could understand. Uncle Jiang had probably never left the area around Qingyang town. How could he have heard of Qin Hongtu? Brother Yi Chen, good morning. At this moment, Jiang Xiaoyu came out of her room. She had a basket on her arm and a bright smile on her face. Xiaoyu, where are you going? I'm going to the town to buy some groceries. Brother Yi Chen, do you want to come with me? Yi Chen nodded and went out with Jiang Xiaoyu. It was his first time here, so he wanted to experience the culture of this foreign land. There was no doubt that in the immemorial realm, even ordinary people who did not cultivate had very strong physique. The door of Uncle Jiang's house was blocked by a 400-kilogram rock. Jiang Xiaoyu was actually able to easily move it to the side. This made Yi Chen gasp in amazement. It was obvious that Jiang Xiaoyu was quite popular in the town. Many residents greeted her warmly. Jiang Xiaoyu was also very talkative. When they arrived at the market, she quickly bought all the vegetables she needed. At this moment, a young man with greasy hair and a powdered face wearing a white robe suddenly appeared in front of them. Behind the young man, there were 2 burly men with fierce eyebrows and fierce eyes. Chapter 15:21. When Jiang Xiaoyu saw the young man, her expression changed and she instinctively hid behind Yi Chen. He had obviously seen Jiang Xiaoyu, and immediately walked over, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth as he smiled and said, "Isn't this little sister Xiaoyu? Why are you shy when you see me? Come out and let me take a look. Have you become prettier?" As he spoke, the young man stretched out his hand to grab Jiang Xiaoyu. However, at that moment, he was suddenly pushed away by someone. Yi Chen said coldly, "A good dog doesn't take charge. Get out of my way." The 2 evil servants behind the young man were instantly enraged. They suddenly jumped out and looked at Yi Chen fiercely and asked, "Brat, how dare you speak to our young master like that? Are you tired of living?" Yi Chen sneered. These people walked with weak step. Their bodies had long been hollowed out by wine and women. They were only left with brute force. They might not even be a match for Uncle Jiang at his peak. How dare they show off in front of Yi Chen with such strength? Yi Chen did not waste any time with nonsense. He directly kicked each of them and sent them flying 10 meters away. They lay on the ground for a long time and did not get up. The young man was obviously frightened. He pointed at Yi Chen and said, "Do you know who I am? The mayor is my godfather. How dare you hit my people? Don't you want to live in this town?" Yi Chen said impatiently, "Get lost. Otherwise, I'll take care of you too." The young man immediately hid to the side. A wise man knew when to retreat. He stared viciously at Yi Chen and Jiang Xiaoyu's leaving figures. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. "Can you let go of my hand now? It was not until they were almost home that Yi Chen heard Jiang Xiaoyu say weakly. Only then did he remember that he had held Jiang Xiaoyu's hand and left. He had forgotten to let go along the way. But speaking of which, Jiang Xiaoyu's hand was cold, but it was very comfortable to hold. Ha ha, I forgot. Yi Chen immediately let go of Jiang Xiaoyu's hand. Jiang Xiaoyu's face was red as she shook her head. Big brother Yi Chen, this time, it's all thanks to you, but you have to be careful. That bastard's name is Gao Fei, his family is in the food business, and he has a very good relationship with the mayor. Yi Chen waved his hand indifferently and said, Don't worry, I don't care about those lowlifes. It's fine if they don't come looking for me. Otherwise, I will make them regret being born into this world. Seeing Yi Chen's smile under the sunlight, Jiang Xiaoyu suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of security. This was only the second person besides his father that he felt this way. After that, the two of them tacitly agreed not to tell Uncle Jiang about what happened at the market. After all, he had yet to recover from his injuries, so he was afraid that he would get angry when he heard that. After breakfast, Jiang Xiaoyu went to work at the dojo in town. Worried that something might happen to her, Yi Chen personally escorted Jiang Xiaoyu to the entrance of the dojo. After that, Yi Chen walked around the town a few times and sat in a tea house in the town for a while. The big green wolf that they brought back yesterday was sold for a lot of silver. Uncle Jiang insisted on giving all the silver to Yi Chen. However, Yi Chen refused. He only took a dozen silver, which was enough for tea. There were many people in the tea house, so it was the best place to get information. However, the peddlers in the town couldn't give him any valuable information. Yi Chen immediately returned to Uncle Jiang's house. He made up his mind that after Uncle Jiang recovered, he would leave here and go to a bigger city. After all, it was impossible to get any information about Qin Hongtu here. There were less than 10,000 inhuman players who had descended into this world with Yi Chen. Those who were able to survive were all elite. Although they were able to survive, most of it had nothing to do with luck. However, it was undeniable that luck was sometimes a part of one's strength. None of these people were stupid. They had hidden all of their identities and tried their best to blend into this world. Sometimes, these inhuman players would also exchange information about this world through the World Channel. Of course, they all hid their identities. The thing that they complained about the most was that they couldn't use their cultivation. They were all super experts at the Sky Immortal Realm and above. However, after coming to this world, they found that their cultivation was only around the third stage. It was hard for them to accept that they were in the middle or lower levels of this world. Now, the players were all trying their best to find cultivation techniques in this world. Some people even offered high prices to buy them on the World Channel. Unfortunately, this kind of thing had a price but no market. Even if someone was lucky enough to get it, why would they sell it? Yi Chen looked for a long time and didn't find any useful information, so he just ignored it. Then, he found a special characteristic when he used the heaven and earth arts. He could use the heaven and earth arts at any time and place, even when he was eating or walking. The violent energy in the air was constantly pouring into his dantian. Although the process was slow, the advantage was that it was continuous. When the sun set in the west, Yi Chen finally felt that the strand of energy that was constantly tempering his body had turned from a thin strand of hair to a black line. Yi Chen immediately smiled. This cultivation speed was not bad. Similar to the Eldritch continent, there was no entertainment at night in Qingyang town. After dinner, Yi Chen returned to his room and continued to cultivate. In the middle of the night, suddenly Yi Chen opened his eyes. His body silently disappeared from the room. At this moment, two burly men were bent over with two bundles of firewood in their arms. They quietly came to the back of Uncle Jiang's courtyard. One of them whispered, "Be careful. Don't make any noise. It'll be troublesome if you're discovered." The other man said with some disdain, "If you're afraid, don't come. who was the one who patted his chest and promised young master that he would complete the mission perfectly. The first man straightened his neck and said, "Who's afraid? I'm just telling you to be careful. If that kid heard us during the day, he'll kill us." Speaking of that kid, I feel pain all over my body. That bastard is too ruthless. This time, we must burn him to death. It's just a pity for Jiang Xiaoyu. Right at this moment, a cold voice rang out from behind their ears. "So, it seems that it was your idiot young master who sent you here?" Chapter 1522. Who's there? The two men were so shocked that their souls almost left their bodies. They turned around in horror, only to see Yi Chen standing behind them silently with a cold smile on his face. Immediately after, they felt their vision go black and lost all consciousness. Yi Chen dragged the two corpses whose necks had been broken by him and left silently. He walked towards Gao Fei's home. Yi Chen already knew the location of Gao Fei's house when he was wandering around the town during the day. This time, he was familiar with the place. At night, there was no one on the streets of Qingyang town. Yi Chen carried the two corpses without making a sound. In the blink of an eye, he was outside the walls of the Gao family. Then, Yi Chen jumped over the wall easily and landed in the courtyard of the Gao family. As soon as he landed, he felt two strong gusts of wind rushing towards him. Yi Chen bent his fingers and flicked them twice. Suddenly, the two black shadows froze on the spot, not moving at all. It turned out that they were two big black dogs, whose heads had been pierced by Yi Chen. Yi Chen threw the two corpses together with the bodies of the big black dogs. Then, he walked towards the inner courtyard of the Gao family leisurely. At this time, the inner courtyard of the Gao family was brightly lit. There were 7 or 8 men in black, busy working nervously. A middle-aged man with a dignified look stood on the steps and said coldly, "This batch of goods is very important to us. Lock them up in the dungeon and watch them closely. Don't make any mistakes." The young man Yi Chen saw during the day, Gao Fei, was standing beside the middle-aged man and yawning. He said impatiently, "Dad, the mayor is so old. Why is he still keeping these little girls? I think some of them are quite pretty. Isn't it a waste to give them to that old man?" The middle-aged man suddenly turned his head and stared at Gao Fei fiercely. "Listen to me. I know you're a pervert, but if you dare to touch these women, I'll kill you myself. These women have important uses for the mayor. Do you understand?" It seemed that Gao Fei had never seen his father so angry. He was so scared that his neck trembled. He said carefully, "I know. I'm just saying. How can I not know what's important?" The middle-aged man snorted coldly, clasped his hands behind his back, and turned to leave. After he left, Gao Fei immediately vented his anger on these men in black. "What are you looking at? Hurry up and do your work. I'm telling you, if these little girls sneak away, I'll take your lives." After that, Gao Fei also turned around and walked into a nearby room with his hands behind his back. These black-clothed men did not utter a word. They took down one black bag after another from the carriage. These black bags were still wriggling and making choking noises. These men in black, each carrying a bag, quickly walked towards the dungeon behind the courtyard. A cold smile appeared on Yi Chen's face as a cold light flashed in his eyes. It was such a coincidence that the Gao family was involved in human trafficking. It seemed that they had something to do with the mayor of Qingyang town. It was getting more and more interesting. After everyone left, Yi Chen went directly to the room where Gao Fei was. At this time, Gao Fei was lying on a chair. A gorgeously dressed woman was gently tapping Gao Fei's leg with a smile. "Why are you not happy today? Is there something bothering you?" Gao Fei said with a gloomy face, "Everything is not going well today. Later, you have to be good at it and make me happy." The woman pretended to be shy and said, "Young master, you have to be considerate of me later. I can't stand being abused." After being flattered, Gao Fei was obviously in a good mood. He laughed and said, "Haha, little bitch, I'll make you beg for mercy later. Then, Gao Fei looked out of the window and said to himself anxiously, why hasn't Nyo Er come back yet? It's reasonable to say that such a small thing should have been done. The woman asked in a low voice, young master, did Nyo Er go out to do things for you again? Gao Fei looked at her coldly and said, do what you should do and don't ask about things you shouldn't ask. It's just that I'm afraid I'll never see some people again. Gao Fei did feel that it was a pity. He had been interested in that little girl Jiang Xiaoyu for a long time. If it weren't for today's incident, he would have gotten her in the future no matter what. Right at this moment, Gao Fei suddenly felt a burst of coldness. He looked up and saw that the door of the room had been opened. A black figure was standing at the door. Gao Fei's face suddenly darkened. He thought that it was one of his men who was looking for him. So, he reprimanded in a cold voice, you blind thing, don't you know that I'm resting? Get out of here immediately. We'll talk tomorrow. However, the figure opposite him didn't leave. Instead, he stepped into the room. Young Master Gao, you don't even recognize me? Gao Fei's face suddenly changed when he saw Yi Chen's appearance. Yi Chen was holding a well-forged steel knife that he had taken from outside the door. The knife was shining with a cold light. Gao Fei's pupils shrank to the extreme. He asked subconsciously, how can you not die? Where's Nyo Er? Yi Chen smiled and said, you must be disappointed. The two of them are waiting for you underground. I'll send you to see them right away. After that, Yi Chen walked directly to Gao Fei with the steel knife. The woman next to Gao Fei had been scared out of her wits. She was about to scream subconsciously. Unexpectedly, Gao Fei grabbed the woman's neck without hesitation and suddenly threw her to Yi Chen. Then Gao Fei suddenly picked up a long sword with cloud patterns on it from the bedside and stabbed forward at a very fast speed. Gao Fei gritted his teeth and used all his strength. He took advantage of the moment when the woman blocked Yi Chen's sight. The long sword in his hand pierced through the woman as if it was piercing through a water bag, creating a large hole in her body. The long sword stabbed toward Yi Chen's throat at a faster speed. The woman opened her eyes wide and looked at Gao Fei incredulously. Gao Fei not only used her as a shield, but also killed her. But in Gao Fei's mind, such a woman was worthless at all. It was worth it for her to die for him. Yi Chen's mouth showed a trace of mockery. It was a bit interesting. Gao Fei hid his cultivation during the day. It seemed that he had reached the peak of level 3. He was even better than Nyoda and Nyo Er. It could be seen that Gao Fei usually hid well. Chapter 1523. Pft. Gao Fei widened his eyes in despair. He covered his neck with both hands, but he still could not stop the blood from gushing out. In that instant, Yi Chen had not only dodged Flowery Beard's sure-kill attack, but he had also dodged Flowery Beard's attack. But he also cut his throat with a knife. Gao Fei's life was draining away along with the blood. He knelt on the ground and looked up at Yi Chen unwillingly. He said something weakly, as if he was asking who Yi Chen was. Yi Chen looked down at Zhao Fei, who was dying bit by bit, without any change in his expression. Yi Chen said coldly, your Gao family has helped the evildoers and done all kinds of evil. Today, I will eradicate you on behalf of the people of Qingyang Town. Your father will accompany you in hell soon. After that, Yi Chen turned and left the room, closing the door behind him. In this way, Gao Fei convulsed a few times in extreme regret and resentment before he completely stopped moving. Yi Chen left his room and slowly went to the backyard. He had just heard the men in black locking those girls up in the underground prison in the backyard. When Yi Chen came to the backyard, he saw two men in black patrolling there with steel sabers in their hands. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen went up and killed them one by one with a knife. However, they were all rookies with a cultivation of level 3 or level 4. Yi Chen could easily deal with them without any effort. In the backyard's dungeon, there were many huge iron cages. In each iron cage, there was a girl in ragged clothes. At this time, these girls were extremely frightened, with their eyes wide open. They looked outside uneasily, and some of them were even crying in a low voice. There were a total of 4 black-clothed men in the dungeon. After hearing the cries of these girls, one of the men roared impatiently, "What are you crying for? If you keep crying, I'll break your necks." These girls were suddenly scared into silence, and did not dare to make a sound. They covered their mouths tightly, but their thin and weak shoulders couldn't help but tremble slightly. One of the burly men looked at the girls in the cage with glowing eyes. He wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and said, "These are all good stuff. It's just that we can only look at them. It's really regrettable." Another big man sneered and said, "If you're not afraid of death, go ahead and play. Don't drag us down with you." The burly man suddenly shuddered and laughed dryly. "I'm just kidding. Who doesn't know that the mayor wants these goods? I'm not tired of living. After this batch of goods is handed over, I'll take the reward and go to the brothel outside to play to my heart's content." Suddenly, the door to the dungeon opened. One of the men said without raising his head, "Didn't I tell you to patrol outside? Who let you in? It's not time for your shift. Besides, it's not cold outside." But before he could finish, he found that his companions had stood up one by one with steel knives in their hands. Yi Chen walked down the stairs step by step from the entrance of the dungeon. The dungeon was dark and damp, emitting a pungent, musty smell. When he saw the dozens of frightened girls in the cage, a murderous look flashed in his eyes. "Kid, what are you doing? Where are our 2 brothers outside? Don't talk nonsense with him. Our brothers outside must have met with misfortune. Let's kill him together." In an instant, the 4 men in black waved the steel knives in their hands and pounced on Yi Chen crazily. The dungeon was very narrow. The 4 men in black had already used all their strength. Before they could reach Yi Chen, their knives were already whistling through the air. "You're aiding the evildoer. You deserve to die." Even if Yi Chen couldn't use the spiritual qi in his body now, it was too easy to kill them. A dazzling saber light flashed. The 4 men in black knelt on the ground and lowered their heads, not moving at all. Their hearts had been completely shattered. After seeing this scene, the girls trapped in the cage were so scared that they screamed. Yi Chen comforted them softly and said, "Don't panic. I'm here to save you. I'll let you out right away." Then Yi Chen stepped forward and broke all the locks on the cages. The girls were very surprised and walked out of the cages. After they came out, they immediately knelt to Yi Chen and said, "Thank you for your great kindness, benefactor. We will repay you in our next lives, even if we have to work like cows and horses." Yi Chen asked them all to get up and then asked, "Where are you all from?" One of the girls, who looked a little clever, stood up and said, "Benefactor, we are all from the nearby town. We were captured by these bad guys." Yi Chen nodded and said, "Don't be in a hurry to come out. There are still bad guys outside. I'll let you go after I finish them all." The girls immediately nodded sensibly and said, "Benefactor, these bad guys are very powerful. You must pay attention to your safety." Yi Chen smiled faintly, then turned and left the underground prison. After seeing the miserable state of these girls, his heart was full of killing intent. There were 7 or 8 men in black resting in each room in the backyard. Yi Chen kicked open a room with a steel knife in his hand and walked in to kill them one by one. These men in black, who usually did all kinds of evil, died in their sleep. Yi Chen walked to the front yard with the steel knife in his hand. At this moment, a strong wind suddenly came in front of Yi Chen. Yi Chen dodged sideways calmly and quickly took 2 steps back. Then he found that it was Gao Zhentian, Gao Fei's father. Gao Zhentian's eyes were red and he was holding a blood-red long knife in his hand. He pointed at Yi Chen with a trembling finger and said, "Damn thief, I have no enmity with you. Why do you want to kill my son?" Yi Chen shook the blood on the steel knife and said lightly, "Because you and your father deserve to die. Your son and subordinates have been sent away by me. Why don't you go in and accompany them?" Gao Zhentian's pupils suddenly shrank and he asked coldly, "Who sent you here? Do you know who our master is?" Yi Chen said mockingly, "I know. It's your mayor, Huang Yud. After killing you, I'll go find him." What a big tone. "I'm going to tear you into pieces." At this time, Gao Zhentian's eyes were filled with anger. He no longer cared about Yi Chen's purpose. There was only one thought in his mind, which was to kill him and avenge his son. Chapter 1524. Gao Zhentian deserved to be the one with the highest cultivation in the whole family. His cultivation had reached the peak of level 5. He was also a rare master in the whole town. Unfortunately, he met Yi Chen. In the face of Gao Zhentian's storm-like attack, which was enough to destroy the world, Yi Chen easily dodged it as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Boom! With a loud noise, Gao Zhentian was kicked away by Yi Chen. He flew back dozens of meters like a cannonball and hit a wall heavily. Suddenly, the wall collapsed, and smoke and dust rose everywhere. Gao Zhentian roared and rushed out with a dusty face. He fought fiercely with Yi Chen again. Yi Chen found that the cultivators in this world were incomparably strong, like unkillable evil beasts. It was a pity that they met him. Yi Chen's fighting skills were so rich that the tempered steel knife in his hand seemed to come alive. It was like a bloodthirsty demon, and the cold light made people dizzy. Gao Zhentian couldn't react at all. Yi Chen's speed was too fast. If he didn't know that he couldn't run away, Gao Zhentian would have run away. He could only grit his teeth and continue to fight. Yi Chen played it down, but the 100-refined steel saber in his hand continued to cut deep wounds on Gao Zhentian's body, one after another. Gao Zhentian's whole body had been dyed red with blood. Yi Chen asked indifferently, "Why did Huang Yud ask you to kidnap these little girls? How many times have you done this?" Gao Zhentian stared at Yi Chen like a hungry wolf. "Boy, the more you know, the faster you will die. But if you spoil Mayor Huang's plan, you will die." Seeing that Gao Zhentian seemed to be brainwashed and didn't want to say anything, Yi Chen didn't waste time talking nonsense with him. Yi Chen directly cut Gao Zhentian's neck easily. Then Yi Chen found tens of thousands of taels of silver in Gao Zhentian's house. Then, he gave some to each little girl. Yi Chen took them to a safe place in town. Once the sun rose, he would let them leave quickly. After everything was settled, Yi Chen returned to Uncle Zhang's house. With Yi Chen's cultivation, it wouldn't matter even if he didn't sleep for 10 days. When he knew that those poor girls had safely left Qingyang town, he felt relieved and continued to cultivate. At this moment, in the mayor's mansion of Qingyang town, a fat middle-aged man angrily smashed the teacup in his hand. Huang Yud was so angry that the fat on his body trembled. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Who did it? Who did it? In Qingyang town, there is someone who dares to oppose me, Huang Yud." An armored guard beside him whispered, "Sir, all the clansmen in Gao Zhentian's family have been killed. The girls in the underground cages in the backyard have also disappeared. I just received information that a group of girls left when Qingyang town was just opened. I don't know if it was them." Huang Yud gritted his teeth and said, "These girls must be the ones who escaped." The guard beside him immediately asked, "Sir, do you want me to capture them?" Huang Yud shook his head and said, "We have already alerted the enemy. Don't worry about them. Wait for the storm to blow over, then capture them again." But who killed Gao Zhentian's family? This is worth thinking about. Is it Gao Zhentian's enemy or is it me, Huang Yud? Huang Yud walked back and forth in the living room as he muttered to himself. Finally, he sneered and said to the guard, "According to my deduction, this is a yellow-haired boy with a strong sense of justice who likes to play the hero saving the damsel in distress. In that case, we might as well arrange another one for him." The guard immediately came up and asked, "Sir, what is your plan?" Huang Yud said slowly, "Go and contact the bandits 800 miles away from Qingyang town." "You say," the guard kept nodding as he listened. In the end, He took the 5,000 taels of gold given to him and galloped away. After the guard left quickly, Huang Yud's expression gradually became ferocious. Yi Chen naturally knew nothing about all of this. He continued to cultivate. When the sun was about to set in the afternoon, Jiao Shaoyun still had not returned. Logically speaking, he should have returned by this time. Could it be that something happened on the road? Was there a delay? At this moment, a little boy ran into Jiang Xiaoyu's house in a panic. He shouted loudly, "Uncle Jiang, Jiang Xiaoyu was kidnapped by a group of mounted bandits." What happened? Uncle Jiang was so anxious that he fell off the bed. Yi Chen supported him and put him back on the bed. "Uncle Jiang, don't worry. Let him finish first." "Don't worry, don't you still have me?" The boy quickly said. "This afternoon, a group of mounted bandits came out of nowhere and attacked our town. Many people died, and they also kidnapped 5 or 6 girls in the market. Among them was Jiang Xiaoyu, so I came back to inform you." Yi Chen frowned and asked, "Qingyang City is so high. Even if these mounted bandits wanted to enter, it wouldn't be that easy, right?" The boy shook his head and said, "I don't know. These horse bandits seem to have fallen from the sky and suddenly appeared. After they killed, set fire, and looted, they ran far away. We couldn't catch up with them." Yi Chen's pupils shrank slightly. He always felt that the appearance of these mounted bandits had something to do with Huang Yud. But right now, saving people was more important. "Uncle Jiang, don't worry. I will go out and take a look. I will definitely bring Jiang Xiaoyu back for you." Uncle Jiang looked at Yi Chen's back and breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was still worried. Of course, I don't doubt Yi Chen's cultivation. When Yi Chen killed the big green wolf, Uncle Jiang knew that Yi Chen's skills were extraordinary. But this time, there were hundreds of ferocious mounted bandits. Who knows if there are experts among them? Will his daughter be able to come back safely? After Yi Chen arrived at the main street, he easily found out the direction in which the bandits had fled. Yi Chen casually bought a ghost mask from the stalls on both sides of the street and put it in his pocket. Then, he left the town as if nothing had happened. After leaving for a while, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly became sharp. It seemed to smell something special in the air. Then, Yi Chen rushed to the distance as fast as lightning. Chapter 1525. Yi Chen galloped all the way with a murderous look in his eyes. He felt that Jiang Xiaoyu was implicated by him. If he had not killed Gao Fei's family, the horse gang would not have robbed the city today. It was obvious that all of this was directed at him. At this moment, Yi Chen missed his previous strength very much. If he could recover his strength and no longer be bound by this small world, then these damned bastards would understand what despair was. However, even without the seal of Bian City, Yi Chen's strength was not something that the horse gang, who had not seen the world, could imagine. After these horse gang kidnapped the girls in the town, they hid in a desolate post station dozens of miles away. Jiang Xiaoyu and the other girls had their hands and feet tied. They hid in a corner and shivered. Facing hundreds of ferocious horse gang, the girls were so scared that they burst into tears. "Big brother, I don't know if that boy will come. Why don't we enjoy these girls first?" The leader of the horse gang looked at the girls with a pair of sinister eyes, and a ferocious smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "I can let you play as much as you want. But don't make trouble for me." Jiang Xiaoyu looked at the ugly and vulgar horse gang who kept forcing their way with a hideous smile and closed her eyes in despair. Boom! At this moment, a loud sound was heard. The post station, which was already a little dilapidated, was suddenly attacked by a huge force and broke into pieces. All the mounted gangsters were stunned. They turned their heads and saw a tall figure wearing a mask walking slowly towards them from the dust cloud. Who is the leader? Yi Chen stared coldly at the hundreds of horse gang and asked. "I am the leader. Who are you?" The leader of the horse gang stared nervously at Yi Chen. he sensed a very terrifying danger from Yi Chen. "The person you are looking for." Yi Chen looked around coldly. "There are too many people. It's enough to leave you alone." Then, Yi Chen waved his hand casually. The gravel on the ground suddenly shot out in all directions. This force was extremely terrifying, and the penetrating power was even more shocking. The surrounding mounted bandits were torn apart and blood flowed everywhere. Even if some people were hiding behind walls, they were still pierced through. "Who is the mastermind behind this?" Yi Chen asked as he stared coldly at the leader of the mounted bandits. The leader of the mounted bandits was stunned, and the weapon in his hand fell to the ground. Only now did he realize what kind of monster he had provoked. He immediately knelt on the ground and confessed everything he knew. "Huang Yud, is it? I haven't even gone to look for him, and he can't wait to die. My lord, I've confessed everything. Can I leave now?" Scram! The leader of the horse gang was overjoyed, as if his life had been saved. He staggered out of the post station in a sorry state. "Poochie!" A stone instantly pierced through his head. The horse gang leader did not even make a sound before he fell to the ground and died. These girls looked at the masked Yi Chen as if they were looking at a god. Yi Chen's ears twitched, and he heard that the townsfolk who were searching for them were about to arrive. Thus, with a flash of his figure, he disappeared. In the mayor's residence in Qingyang town, Huang Yud was restless. "Some useless people, I wonder if they have caught that damn brat." At this moment, Huang Yud suddenly felt a breeze behind his head. He turned his head abruptly and saw a masked figure sitting in his seat. "Who are you? How did you get in? Didn't you send someone to catch me just now? Why don't you recognize me now?" Yi Chen didn't bother talking nonsense with him. He reached out and grabbed Huang Yud. To everyone's surprise, an extremely powerful aura suddenly erupted from Huang Yud's body. According to Yi Chen's estimation, it was at least the peak of level 7 cultivation. This made Yi Chen a little interested. He did not expect the mayor of Qingyang town to be so secretive. It was a pity that Huang Yud met Yi Chen. "Poochie!" Huang Yud's knees fell to the ground heavily, and the bricks on the ground cracked like a spider web. As for Huang Yud's knees, they had been completely shattered. He was in so much pain that he wanted to scream crazily. Unfortunately, he could not utter a single word. Yi Chen sat in the armchair and stared at him coldly. "I don't care why you want to catch those innocent girls, it has nothing to do with me. I only want to ask you, do you know Qin Hongtu?" Huang Yud was stunned. He thought that Yi Chen would torture him and interrogate him about why he kidnapped those innocent girls. He had already thought of how to deal with it, but he did not expect that Yi Chen would only ask him if he knew someone called Qin Hongtu. "Who is Qin Hongtu? I have never heard of him." Yi Chen had been watching Huang Yud's expression closely. He was a little disappointed when he saw that Huang Yud was not lying. "Then what's the use of keeping you?" Yi Chen did not say a word and walked out the door. Huang Yud heaved a sigh of relief and disbelief, thinking that he could escape. The moment Yi Chen walked out the door, Huang Yud's head exploded with a bang. Yi Chen did not even look back as he disappeared from the courtyard and returned to Jiang Xiaoyu's house. Jiang Xiaoyu had already returned, but she was still in a state of shock. Yi Chen comforted her with a few words and returned to his room. Jiang Xiaoyu looked at Yi Chen's back in confusion. She felt that he was similar to the masked man who had saved her. Yi Chen frowned when he returned to his room. The restriction of his cultivation really made him a little impatient. This feeling of having his hands and feet tied was too sullen. He wanted to recover his strength and find the ruler of this world. Then, he would use their strength to find the so-called Qin Hongtu. Yi Chen did not think that the system would go to such great lengths to create such a mission. Qin Hongtu was just a nobody. Yi Chen guessed that Qin Hongtu was at least a huge evil. Yi Chen sat there cross-legged and gathered the strength in his body. Suddenly, a string seemed to move in his body. The corners of Yi Chen's mouth slowly curled up into a smile. He had forgotten that he was different from others. Others were suppressed by the laws of this world. However, he had a wisp of the great Tao in his body. In an instant, a thunderous sound rang out in Yi Chen's body. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in Yi Chen's body. Countless amounts of energy were crazily colliding. The invisible shackles wrapped around Yi Chen's body were constantly shattered by this energy. After an instant's time, a terrifying energy suddenly erupted from Yi Chen's body. He could not help but laugh out loud. The long-lost strength had returned. He had finally broken free from the shackles on his body. Yi Chen, who had regained his strength, looked around and felt that the world had changed. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.